Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, our mild-mannered podcasters were bombarded by gamma rays, bitten by radioactive bugs, mutated by toxic waste, irradiated with cosmic rays, born into a world that doesn't understand them.
First issue. Limited edition. Very Second printing. Talking.
Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, January the 13th, 2015, and you are listening to the Talking Comics podcast. I am your host, Bobby Shortle, and I'm here with Steve Say.
Hello.
And Mr. Bob Ryer.
Good evening.
Welcome to the very first new Talking Comics of 2015.
Yeah.
And following the grand tradition of 2014, Stephanie is not here. Stephanie got called away at work at the last minute. She sent in her votes, so we have her votes here. And of course, she'll be here next week to deride us for all of our choices.
Disparaging comments galore. What is wrong with you?
But this is the third annual Talking Comics Awards, the 2014 edition. We are going to be broadcasting this live. Well, we are broadcasting this live right now via YouTube. So
is that what's going on?
Yeah, to everybody who's watching along, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we're putting this up as a regular podcast as well tomorrow, normal time. So if you guys are watching and have to leave or whatever, you don't worry. This is not the only time you're going to get to see it. It'll be out as a regular podcast in its normal form tomorrow. If people are watching and we look out of focus, the camera that I got for this purpose apparently does not focus so well for at any distance. So it's meant more for close distances. So I'm very sorry. We know about the problem. For future live streams, we'll be able to make that a little better.
See here, I thought you were the old movie trick where you're putting like gauze on the lens so I don't look quite so old.
Yes, that's what I was doing. Yeah, absolutely. I was doing it so that we all looked younger. That's why I did it. We have you guys can comment along if you guys want, and we will try to answer your questions if we can. So if you guys are not listening, or you guys have listened to this for the first time, the way that we work this is we're going to spend the first half of the show kind of debating. We're going to go over the nominees, and we're going to give kind of our last arguments, our closing arguments, to see if we can change anybody's mind or sway anybody's mind on their votes. We will then take a break, and we will then in the break we will vote for our winners. We would do it for you guys on air, but it's the most boring thing in the entire world. We just literally tabulate numbers. So we might keep the live stream going and just maybe talk over it as Bob will calculate for us. Bob is our trusted counter.
I did bring a number 2 pencil that is now broken. So go figure.
We can have story time.
We have story. I like that.
Exactly. Steve and I can talk about what we did on our break while Bob does his thing. Yeah. And so we'll do that. And what we do is we do it in reverse. We do a weighted voting system. So you guys listen to these three shows that we did, and we talk about it in a very unscientific terms about what we think should be nominated. We do have some voting system, but not too much. When it comes down to the nitty-gritty, things can always change. Because we've already spent all the time talking and going over all the points, we don't want to keep repeating stuff for the winners. So we do a weighted voting system. So we have 5 nominees for each category, and we will vote. We will give actual points to each one. So the first place vote gets 5 points. Second place gets 4 points. Third place gets 3 points. Fourth place gets 2 points. Fifth place gets 1 point.
Right. For you sports fans, it's the MVP voting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we do that because we want this to be an amalgamation of all of our opinions about things. And this way, something that gets, a few first place votes might not win if it gets all second place votes. Right. And so it reflects more the general, everyone feels about everything, because instead of getting under 5 and number 1, if it gets all kind of high to middle, it has more chance of winning because we all have very good feelings about it. So that's how this goes, and we will endeavor to make it as entertaining as possible, as usual. But I want to say thank everybody who listened over these past few weeks to the best of shows. Thank everybody who interacted with us, everybody who voted. Voting is still open. We're going to close it at the break. So the polls might technically still be open after the break, but if you vote after we've looked at all the votes, it's not going to count. So there were some very, very close races when I was looking at the votes over these past couple of weeks. So we'll see what comes of that stuff. So, and there's a lot of write-ins we'll get to read out as well. So we'll go over that in the break as well. So
see, I tried to stay away just so as not to be influenced.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at the cover one was like, I think it was exactly tied.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Like down to the 100th of a percentile.
Wow.
It was tied. So we'll have to see what happened with that. But before we dive right into the awards and go over our debates, how was everybody's 4 weeks?
It's been a long time.
This will be 4 weeks today, that last time we recorded a podcast. And we recorded those 3 podcasts you listened to like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
it feels different than other years. It feels longer.
it was definitely this week between the last show we put up, part 3, and now felt like a very long time.
Yeah.
How was everybody's Christmas?
Awesome.
Well, who wants to go first?
Steve, how was your Christmas?
I had a really big Christmas this year. This was my first Christmas away from the United States and away from my family. Went to go hang out with my girlfriend in Canada with her family, and it was spectacular. I got lots of really cool stuff. We did a lot of traveling, did a lot of drinking, a lot of playing Diablo, making new characters and stuff. And we saw the new Lord of the Rings, the new Hobbit movie. Watched a couple of other really cool things, but overall just, it was really cool for me because I got to go somewhere else and be somewhere and celebrating with completely different people and still feeling like a part of the family and kind of like, cementing myself in there. And just the more I go out there, the more experiences you share with a new family, you're more accepted into it. And then, you're made to feel more special and stuff like that. Did a couple of cool comic book things, played a lot of video games, and then went to an 80s New Year's Eve party dressed like Spider-Man. My girlfriend was Mary Jane. That suit was snug. It was snug, and after about 15 minutes of caring a lot, I didn't care anymore at all. And but it was a good time. It was a lot of stuff. It was anniversary, it was birthday stuff, it was all kinds of crazy things, and I loved it. I really did. I had a good time. Awesome. I missed everybody back home, but at the same time, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Sounds like a good New Year's.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. And a really good holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Our phones are lighting up with interactions.
I'm watching the corner of my eye right now.
So that's awesome. Bob, how was your holidays?
Pretty quiet. Generally, I make the rounds a little bit, find families to go, swipe food off of and buy some time before you got to do real life stuff here and there. Your birthday was during our break too, Bobby, so happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, Bobby.
Thank you very much.
Had some fun over here, certainly.
We did. We had some fun. We played some of the Jackbox Party Pack.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
It was so much fun. Bob even played.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn this into another podcast, but how many controllers? Do you need a controller per person?
No, you don't need any controllers. It's all phones and iPads and computers. Yeah. That's how you interact with it.
Weird.
Yeah, you just go to their website, you sign into they give you a room code, you go into a room code, and that's it.
We had like 12 people playing at one time?
And it's trivia.
Well, there's like 5 games. There's a trivia game. There's the You Don't Know Jack.
Okay.
Then there's Fibbage, which is like Balderdash type of game.
Mm-hmm.
There's Drawful, which is sort of like Pictionary.
Wow.
There's a Lie Swatter, which is a simple like true or false game. So it's really, really cool. It's awesome because anybody can play it and everybody, it's just people are laughing. It was great.
I want to ask more questions, but I don't want to derail.
We'll talk about it on the games podcast.
All right, cool.
But definitely a goodie.
And my Christmas was awesome. The first split Christmas for me and my wife, which was really cool. It actually went really well. And then New Year's was very quiet. Just stayed home and Karen and I played some SingStar karaoke.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Would you say what was the last song that you sang in 2014?
I don't remember what the last song we sang was. It was probably something horrible because they don't have a lot of songs on there. So it was a lot of like Carly Rae Jepsen and stuff.
Oh my God. Just got new songs.
What?
Rock Band 3.
I know.
Really?
like a Foo Fighters
First
track.
time in like 3 years, I think it is.
Weird.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the breaks. The breaks were good. But let's start going through our list. Let's start going through our nominees.
Let's do it.
Unlike most Talking Comics, we're going to be getting right to the point. So also, guys, on our Twitter at Talking Comics, our fearless social media man Raphael is doing a live tweet of our
Awesome.
of our award show. If you want to interact with him or with us on there, it's at hashtag TC Pod Awards. So hit that up and you'll see it. It's actually right on the screen, or it was. And now it's gone.
It's gone already.
So yeah. So I'll change this thing so it's up there. But let's start talking about our nominees. So let's start with our least controversial topic, Publisher of the Year. All right. So we had Boom, Archaea, DC, IDW, Image, and Marvel were our 5 nominees. I think that we kind of fought on our first episode. You guys haven't listened to it, the part 1. We had debates about DC, IDW, and Marvel. We didn't really talk about Image or Boom because they got on there right away. Right. And part of what we do here is, in addition to kind of the final arguments, this is also the time where we can acknowledge what they did so well, because we kind of those podcasts, we get so in the weeds with those podcasts talking about the stuff that we disagree on, so that we agree on, we kind of leave to now so that we can give the stuff its due. So we can start with Image, obviously. When I look at my list of favorite comics of the year, it is dominated by a lot of Image books. Yeah, same. All the ones that most of the ones that I struggled with whether they're in my top 10 or not were Image books. So it's a no-brainer for me that they continued this year, and we're going to talk about Image Expo, even though we're already a week late, next week. In addition to all the other big news that happened when we were gone, just so we can give it its due, and we're not kind of pushing it in here. But Image Expo obviously announced another lineup of stuff, of all books that I'm at least going to try a number 1 for. And that's one of the things I think that they do great, is that they've turned their name into sort of, that's their franchise, right? That's their Spider-Man, or that's their X-Men, or that's their Superman or Justice League. That's what Image has done. So when you see an Image book, it's like, I'm going to try this book because it's an Image book. And a lot of times it doesn't even matter who the creators are, and sometimes it does, obviously, because they're a very creator-driven company, but they're getting their brand to a high enough peak, I think, where you can just pick up an Image book and be like, okay, this is at least going to be interesting. I might not want to read number 2, but at least what I'm going to get is interesting. And I think that's a pretty special thing. Yeah, well, I mean, they're one of the biggest attractions for me for Image is the diversity of the books and just the different worlds that you visit, different characters that you meet. That, with Image, you get something, the lineup from Image Expo, we'll talk about it next show, but it's a lot of new and exciting stuff, and it's different stuff. And you want to talk about like artists and stuff like that. Like you say, sometimes it doesn't even matter who the writer is, but because it looks a certain way, you're willing to try it. Like, as much as I love Marvel and DC and all of that stuff, like sometimes when different artists come on, like, I get excited, but at the same time, they're going to still be drawing the superheroes in their own style. And it's awesome to see the variations, but you're still looking at the same characters. When you go to Image, you have completely new worlds, completely new heroes and new people, a new world. I said that already. So I'm a little nervous with the live stuff, but time and time again throughout the year, I'm more likely to pick up a new Image book and at least give it a number 1 before certain Marvel series that otherwise, or DC series or whatever, that seem like I would have to know stuff prior to jumping on. Like, even like a jumping on point, you can call it that all you want. If it's been around for X amount of time, like something like Uncanny Avengers, and you're telling me that I can jump in on like issue number 26, I don't really believe you. Right. So anyway, Image is a great publishing company. I've loved a lot of their books this year, and they're definitely high on my list.
It's interesting. When we started these 3 years back, I thought Image's problem might have been without the recurring characters, without a reason to show up month after month for a character or a series, that eventually they were going to plateau at a certain point. But it's turned into just the opposite. Just what you're saying, Bobby, it's their brand name denotes a certain quality, a
Yeah.
certain diversity of tone and line, and they have funny stuff, crazy stuff, violent stuff, science fiction, horror, straight crime, spy drama, and you all know it's going to be eminently readable. May not be your thing, book to book,
Right.
but you've got a shot at finding one that is yours.
Yeah.
And that's to be commended. That's what we want in this industry, is that diversity.
Absolutely. And as far as Boom and Archaea, they made it onto our list last year. I felt like they were the fifth, definitely. They were the one that we kind of came to last. I think Stephanie brought them up, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we, because I think we were set on, because the year before, I think we had IDW, Dark Horse, Image, Marvel, and DC.
Right.
And Boom is the thing that pushed one of those out last year. I believe pushed IDW out last year and Dark Horse out this year. And, I think that they have made a really great place for themselves. I think, especially with the merger with Archaea, they've kind of changed their brand a little bit so that they have a more all-encompassing brand for both of them, right? The Archaea now has a chance to get to more people, and to be in the hands of more people. And Boom now has an arm that's much more daring, much more out there, much more indie. Not that Boom doesn't already do stuff like that, but Archaea is known for kind of their beautiful presentation and all of these kind of things. And they brought that to Boom, I think, in a big way. And it really filled out their line. Something like Butterfly from Marguerite Bennett,
right,
who we're going to talk a little bit later, obviously. I think that's great. And obviously, stuff like Lumberjanes has been wonderful. They've done a lot of great stuff this year, and I think they deserve to be recognized. I think that they're serving, obviously, a part of the audience that was underserved for a long time in kids. I mean, I look at something like Squirrel Girl, which was just released for Marvel, and there's no way that book exists if Boom hasn't been doing what it's doing for the last few years.
Right.
That's a direct reaction to that book, to those line of books. And I think that's great. I mean, I think when that stuff starts filtering out to other companies, it's not a loss for Boom and Archaea. It's a win for the industry, because people are starting to realize there's money to be had there. There's prestige to be had there. Let's try to get that.
Well, they're also another publishing company that handles their licensed properties really well.
Yeah.
Like all of that animation block stuff that they have with Adventure Time and the Adventures of Gumball and Bravest
Warrior?
Bravest Warriors?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't watch the show, so I probably forget sometimes. But like all of that stuff is, it's writers from the show, it's artists from the show, or people that are like artists that can do that sort of thing. I've been reading The Adventures of Gumball since it started coming out, and I'm a big fan of the show. It is seriously like having an episode of the show in your hands for X amount of time that it takes you to read it. Every single issue has been fantastic, and I've laughed my ass off. And they bring that level of quality to something like that it's like a direct transfer from one medium to the other.
Yeah.
Really, really good stuff, really well handled. And all the stuff coming in from Archaea, like the Rust series and things like that, now being under that label. They made some really, really big moves this year, and just a really nice showing from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, on that sort of license front, I'll just jump in on IDW a little bit.
Yeah.
Because beyond their great historical stuff that they do, there's reprints of those little newspaper strips. Whereas the Wonder Woman they just did, which a lot of people didn't even know there was a Wonder Woman newspaper strip, the Superman, Batman, Sunday color things, Flash Gordon, all the things they're doing. Flash Gordon, I think the Titan did and IDW did, I think.
I'm not sure.
I may be wrong on
yeah.
that. So I'm already wrong once in 2015. Off to a bad start. But their licensed stuff, for all we hear for the people who are loving Transformers or the Star Trek stuff, whether it was Harlan Ellison's John Burns photo novels, the continuation of the J.J. Abrams movies, are all very, very well done. And those are gateways to a different audience. The kids' things bring those kids who are watching television. If you can bring adults who are watching TV and movies to comic books, that's a win for all of us too.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, like parents have come into Tor Comics, where we usually go to get our books, and they ask, do you have any comics for kids? And it used to be that you'd have to go over to like the dollar racks to find, collections of stuff, or maybe the store has a box or a small section. And now it's so much wider that you can actually pick up a couple of books off of the shelf that are there and displayed, and you can lead them into that. And it's really cool that they handle that kind of thing and bring that to the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that we kind of set our pieces. I mean, Bob, we don't want to give away who your number one is because we're going to vote, obviously. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. But, I mean, it's going to take a lot to sway me on probably, you know, my top is set in my mind and it's not going to change. But, you know, for the others, I do probably have a little bit of wiggle room in me. I don't know how highly IDW is on your list. Is it really high up there? Is it in the middle?
Really high up.
Really high up there?
Really high up. As someone who loves the history of comics, that this company, when Marvel and DC are for the most part backing away from really deep reprints, the sticking to the last few years for whatever reason that is, Marvel still does Golden Age Masterworks and puts one out every couple of months. DC does nothing at all. There's a lot of stuff out there. And that IDW will go to the mat for putting out 2 giant hardcover volumes of Miss Fury, for goodness sakes. Again, all these other strips. I think that's to be celebrated.
He's doing that thing that he does. He's
trying to make you change your
swaying
votes.
me. I made all my votes. I got my paper right here, and now he's messing it all up.
Bob will do that. Bob will definitely do that.
It's the Clarence Darrow of comics. Yeah, that's me.
Does anybody else want to say anything about any of the publishers before we move on?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Comics shouldn't be $5. Sorry.
That's true. There's a whole other debate.
It's only the first issue.
Another debate. Don't worry. They're not going to win anyway, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Not to break anybody's heart, but they're not going to win.
That's true.
There'll be a big. It's funny enough. If Marvel wins, it'll be a huge upset, which is a funny thing to say about a comic book publisher. All right, so I guess we should talk about. Let's talk about breakthrough. Well, let's do cover.
Okay.
To cover stuff to debate, really. I mean, we all the images are on the website. Most likely the way Bob has them all in front of him.
I have 3.
3 of them. If you go on the website and you look at the Talking Comics post that you're on right now, the awards show post, there is embedded all 5 obviously covers. You know, it's tough. I don't know if we're going to be able. This is one of the time where the weighted ballot system is important, right? Because we're all going to vote for ours for number 1.
Maybe not.
Most likely. So it's really going to be how we
Yeah.
rank the others that ends up
Absolutely
ends up doing it. And we've all seen them. We've all looked at them. So we're going to move on from cover. But we can run them down real quick so people know what they are. Elektra, number 6. Gotham Academy, number 1. Ms. Marvel, number 5. And I want to say it's an Adrian Alphona cover, not a Jamie McKelvey cover. I was wrong when we talked about it in the first show. Just want to make that correction on the air. X Factor, number 3. And Sex Criminals, number 1, 4th printing. All right, so let's move on from that. So let's talk about web or digital comic. So our nominees for that are Abominable Charles Christopher, Bandette, High Crimes, Injustice, and Sensation Comics. Anybody have any arguments they want to weigh here?
Go ahead, Steve. Steve's ready.
Well, you're gonna go in for Sensation Comics? Here's my thing. I kind of want you to say something for Sensation because I'm rethinking my numbering and I want you to make Sensation Comics higher on my list.
You'd be correct, sir. It was sounding like Johnny Carson on the old Tonight Show. Considering how DC's corporate handlers have decided that Wonder Woman and the Amazons are more product and brand name than icon and story, as we've heard from Greg Ruck about, writing a symbol and how you manage to do that, and there is a way to do that. And here now, through I think digitally, we're 18 stories in the way they split them up. Every one has showcased a different aspect of the classic Wonder Woman persona and message. And that symbolism is important in an era where we are looking toward better representation of female characters. Here's the most important one being presented properly to a different audience than the print book. And if that gets people thinking about Wonder Woman in the I'm playing the age card in the proper way, in the way demanded by her history, it's a big book. It's an important book.
Okay, it worked.
Well, Steve, what are what are you going in for?
Mine is Abominable Charles Christopher. That book, I picked up the books from Carl Kerschel at, I guess it was I think it was NYCC, possibly. And yeah, it was. So Stephanie brought that book to our attention, I believe last year.
Yes.
And I finally got the chance to check it out, printed form, sitting on the train. And it's to say, I hate it took my breath away, but it kind of did. I see you can laugh at me. I don't care.
Awesome.
I love Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, if you ask me, like, what is your favorite comic strip of all time? It's Calvin and Hobbes, no question.
Amen.
Something from beginning to end. The places that went, that was something in Newsday. I know everybody has their own newspaper and stuff, but Newsday is kind of our thing. That was in Newsday. That was the only thing growing up that I looked forward to was Calvin and Hobbes. But anyway, we're not talking about Calvin and Hobbes. We're talking about Abominable Charles Christopher. I get that same comic strip style vibe from Abominable Charles Christopher. Not only is it absolutely beautiful, but the watercolors are spectacular as well. My mom is now, she's like, hey, to see you. So I just, like I said,
Long time listener, first time caller.
yeah, right. The watercolors, the art is spectacular, but the stories, there is this like overarching journey to this Abominable Charles Christopher character, and he's this massive hulking abomination that kind of like awkwardly like child steps his way through the forest, trying not to hurt things but still trying to survive. And he sacrifices his own health and his own safety all the time for others. But in the background, there's this whole like spiritual journey that he's going on by way of like these almost like totems or things that come and talk to him periodically throughout the story to remind you that among all this laughter and among all these little things going on between the relationships of the animals in the forest, that there's a much larger story as you're reading. And that just blows the scope of a webcomic wide open. And when you read it sequentially like that, you really, really get that whole, journey aspect of the book. And regardless of how much I like the other books that are on this list or the other comics that are on this list, that is something that All Encompassing just offers to me the most amount for your reading time. And I fell in love with it.
It's interesting, right? Because I think with the Abominable Charles Christopher and with Sensation Comics, we have almost two different sides of the same coin. Because Abominable Charles Christopher, which is a beautiful book and it's wonderful, it's one of those things that wouldn't have existed if the digital web format didn't exist, right? It would not have come to be. I doubt that Carl Carlson would have sold it to a publisher, but he was able to do it himself and create it. And now we have this wonderful thing. And Sensation Comics is, one of the biggest companies in the world doing a version of one of their characters online. However, much in a different way, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that format either. Yes. Because there wouldn't be that other outlet. There wouldn't be, it's a lower risk. They're able to do, take a chance on lesser known creators, and they can bring about a more full-fledged and traditional version of the character that a lot of people want and have been wanting for the past 3 plus years. And now I think probably everybody's wanting, now that Azrael and Chang stuff is over, it's you kind of lost all of that Wonder Woman-ness, and I think in the DC 52, not to offend anyone who likes that book, but it's very interesting. It's very tough to decide, I think, between those two, because they both do great things, and they both bring something that wouldn't otherwise be there. I mean, all the nominees are great. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I mean, Bandetta is going to end up is we're going to be talking about it again. It's very, very high on a lot of lists, and it's going to be talked about in the biggest category we have. Unfortunately, like, Stephanie is the one who brought up High Crimes. She's not here to champion it tonight. It's a really entertaining book, though. It's really great. Injustice, again, it's one of those things. It's much like in Sensation Comics in like the opposite way completely, but it wouldn't have existed probably without this digital format. They probably wouldn't have put it out. Yeah, and it definitely I don't think would have gotten the same amount of attention if it had just been put out print wise, because I think not as many people would have been able to get it who normally don't read comics. So I think that they're great nominees. In my brain, just when I think about this, it's coming down to between Abominable Charles Christopher and Sensation Comics. Those are like the two it's coming down to, which is why I highlighted them. I mean, guys, if you guys have not read Abominable Charles Christopher, It's something you definitely should check out. You can get it online, but the print editions are gorgeous.
Yeah, they really
They're
are.
really, really gorgeous. So make sure you check those out. Yeah, so that's web or digital comic. Breakthrough artist. Let's go to breakthrough artist. So we have Brooke Allen from Lumberjanes, Emily Carroll, Through the Woods, Carl Kerschel, we talked about him for The Abominable Charles Christopher, also Gotham Academy, Robbie Rodriguez, who is FBP, and he did the Spider-Gwen issue, and Cameron Stewart and Babstar, obviously the Batgirl team. And Cameron Stewart also came out after our discussions, but he did the art for that Thunderworld issue of Multiversity, which was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It's amazing. So yeah, so I'll go first here. I'm gonna talk about the one that I am stumping the most for, and that's Emily Carroll. When I read Through the Woods, I read it because we had Nikki on months and months ago, and she spoke about it, and then Stephanie read it and spoke about it, and then we all started kind of reading it. And when I read it, I was blown away. She's also a very good writer, and I think belonged in the discussion for Breakthrough Writer as well. But I think that her art and certainly the way she brings horror to the table, it's not often you get truly fresh, exciting new voices into a genre, and I think Emily Carroll is that for the horror genre. When she does her panels and her pages and her layouts, she is just as much about what you don't see as what you do see, and a lot of times what you don't see is what scares you way more than what you see. Her uses of color and also the lack of color when she uses that in a very, very deft and mature way. And on top of that too, on top of just being cool genre stories that have, some of them have twists, some of them have big scares, some of them are sad, some of them are weird, but they have characters that you generally, you have a connection with, at least in some way, even when they're very, very short. And, the opening, the prologue to the book is just a story about this kid reading in their bed, and about the monsters existing outside of the light, and they just show you, she just draws this one shot of the kid sitting in bed, the light, and outside the light is just darkness, and he's just looking out into the into the darkness, and in your imagination fills everything in there. And the storytelling to use storytelling in that one page, that one image, to tell so much story, I think is really astounding. And I was blown away by what she managed to do. And this category often has two meanings, right? It is both new person that we really love, and also person who might have been around for a while but now is making a huge impact on a larger scale. It's the one award that we really have that's more kind of, it has some meta aspect to it more than just the work a lot of the times. Although the work has to be great for it to even be considered. So she definitely falls into that first category where she's new. She's new to us, and this is really kind of her first published work. But I think that she deserves it 100%, because I was more impressed by her than anyone else this year of new people that I saw.
In the time since our nominations, her star has been rising for me.
Nice.
Just because the more I think of that book, the more highly I think of it.
Nice.
Should I say some words?
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
words.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away though.
It's okay. It's time to give stuff away.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Spoiler alert.
Through the Woods. Well, anybody that you know what, give it away. Anybody that read the top 20 that I posted on the website will know, if you actually read the little things at the bottom. Through the Woods is my favorite book of the year. It took me to a place that I never expected to go again, and that's in like that middle school era with the scary stories to tell in the dark, and being going to be 34 years old Monday, and this artist, this writer of this book, managed to like knock years off of my life and paralyze me with horror reading this book. And it's a lot like what you said, in that it's so much of what you don't see that messes you up. Like I always refer to, when we were talking about on the podcast, that one shot of the wolf coming after the house, and you just see, the outline of its teeth and its eyes, and just like, I immediately start thinking of like Gamork from the Neverending Story, that wolf that was stuck in the wall, and like that terrified me growing up. And all of these memories and all of these things came flooding back to me, and all these like really cool stories I heard growing up started to like enter my mind for like the following couple of days after I had read it. And it's one of those books that I cannot stop going back to in my mind and wanting to read it again and wanting to let people borrow it and stuff like that. She's a huge talent, and I can't wait to see, you know, what she's up to next. Because that book is spectacular.
Yeah. And the first story where the kids are disappearing,
Mhm.
and she's walking through the house, and she's like, "Are you underneath the bed?" And like they show the man underneath the bed.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
That's that primal fear. You wake up in the morning, you put your feet down. There are snakes under the bed, or
Absolutely.
You read Joe Hill's Heart-Shaped Box.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, like the old man, the way that he describes the old man, like that first time.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like he's there, but he's not there, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Totally. So, Bob, you have anyone you want to shill for?
No.
Okay.
No. They're all great. They've all moved around on my list as we've gone.
All right, go ahead.
Go.
No, my other huge. We got a special guest.
You got a special guest. My wife is here.
Oh man,
She just delivered my birthday present, which is
Oh, yeah?
tickets to the Book of Mormon.
get out.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going on Thursday.
Oh,
So tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the podcast,
you should try to catch Louis C.K. Man, he opened up a third date.
we're going to see Book of Mormon.
Well, that's better, but
Yeah.
still, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Excited, really, really excited.
I just want to say, because we did say a lot of nice stuff, but Robbie Rodriguez is another big name for me on this list. If you want somebody that's got like a lot of style and whose artwork is now attached to one of the biggest characters of the year, I just think that he deserves a nice nod, especially for FBP, because that book is just ridiculously cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super
Look,
impressive.
Look, across the board
Incredibly
here, we
impressive.
Gotham Academy, the new Batgirl
Mhm.
has been great.
Yeah.
These are all groundbreaking books that have changed the way comics have looked
Yeah.
for the last few years. We've gotten away from some of the darkness and the
Mm-hmm.
overly done, overly rendered into some cartooning that still has heart and emotion and can have horror and humor.
Mhm.
You gotta remember, when you go back to things like the original Captain Marvel, you talked about the Thunderworld that just came out, that so perfectly captured, in Cameron Stewart's work there, what the CC Beck Captain Marvel looked like.
Yeah.
Fun and yet still action packed. You can do both, and I think publishers are discovering that is feasible again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Carl Kerschel obviously when we were talking about that, but I like we talked huge things about Gotham Academy in its 3 issues, and it's one of the best looking books out there, I think.
Yeah.
Lumberjane's just so much fun.
Yeah.
3-eyed dragon fish and all
Yeah,
sorts of crazy things.
If there's an art that suits its world the best, if that was like the category, that would definitely be super high up on the list.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's move on then. Breakthrough writer. We've got our nominees for that category are Marguerite Bennett, Brendan Fletcher, Noel Stevenson, James Tinian IV, and G. Willow Wilson. Bob, do you have anybody you want to stump for?
Yeah, but let's just put it this way. I think we might know where this is going, but we could surprise everyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's
just say, honestly, for me, I so love what Marguerite Bennett did in so many different places this year. That whether that Lois Lane piece, the couple of fill-in Batgirl issues she did, the first of the new Angela. There's a lot of really, really rangy things going on there, and she's handled all of it very, very well. And Butterfly certainly, in the spy genre too. Gotta speak up for variety, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that it's tough because it's like those Oscar years, right? We're like, oh man, Leonardo DiCaprio was great in The Aviator, but then it's like, oh, but guy played Ray Charles, like in a different Ray Charles, so no one's talking about it. It's like it's like one of those years where somebody has a really great performance, and then Daniel Day-Lewis comes around and does a performance, and I think that we didn't really talk about her because I think she was on all of our nominee lists back then. But G. Willow Wilson, even though she has success before and has worked at both companies and done very well, I think this year has completely blown the doors off, of the industry in a lot of ways. She's well, she's helped to blow the doors down in a lot of ways. You know, we've had a lot of writers coming in, but the character that she's written in Kamala Khan and Ms. Marvel has, I think, changed a lot of the way people think about comics and has brought in a whole new readership, and the way that it's blown up both physically and digitally, you know, at the point where like, I'm sure other books have been big digitally, but this is the only one that we've really heard a lot of. They've all been rumors because they won't release any of the thing, but there's the only one that, you know, that even Marvel will even mention that the digital sales have been great on it. And I think that it's been amazing. And even you said, right, that she's the best
reviewed writer.
Yeah, best reviewed writer.
Best reviewed writer by CBR.
Yeah.
Over the course of the year.
Yeah.
But this is a character. I think this is where you were heading.
Yeah.
I bogarted that.
Yeah.
I've read comics a very long time, and for the first time in nearly 50 years, I'm reading something that reminds me of what Spider-Man was like when I was reading it, when it was Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And I was at the Nerdist comic panel at NYCC, and Greg Pak said there wouldn't be Storm if there wasn't Ms. Marvel.
Right.
That there are these other books coming out on the back of this, which doesn't influence how great the book is itself or what we think of the writing. That's a separate argument. But that is part of the discussion, that it's so groundbreaking and so different and so with risk taking,
right,
on Marvel's part and Sam Amanat and the whole bunch. But someone had to put it out there, and someone had to do it right. And G. Will Wilson just absolutely killed.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of discussion about this in the forums too, about kind of quantity and quality and how those things match up.
Yeah.
And we talked about a little bit on our nomination show as well. But if that one thing that person did was so amazing that it overrides the other stuff, then it goes. There's something scientific about it. It's not like, oh, okay, so this writer wrote this many books, so that equals they get a nomination, and I enjoyed them this much. That equals, you know, there's a lot of gut feelings and passion involved in a show like this. And you know, you can't really fault a writer for writing less. You know, if they decide to write less, they decide to write less. If that one thing is great, then it doesn't matter, right?
That's right.
So, you know, that's where kind of the Gio Olsen wins for me over someone like Marguerite, who I think has done really, really good work. But none of her work has made me feel the way that G.O. Wilson's one book has this year, this past year. You know, the other nominees, there's some great nominees here. Obviously, Brendan Fletcher is working on both Gotham Academy and Batgirl, and doing a fantastic job on both.
Yeah.
You know, both those books are great, and he deserves all the credit in the world for, you know, coming in with the help of other people, obviously, but coming in and creating. Becky Cloonan is writing on Gotham Academy with him. Cameron Stewart is writing Batgirl with him. But to do that stuff and to make those books so good and to do something so different with both of them, because they're very different books, they're not the same. I think is pretty wonderful. You know, James Tynion, again, is having a really solid year, has done some really great, I think, miniseries. His ongoing work has gotten better, and I think he's gotten better than he ever has been before. He's no longer, I think, you know, just the backup writer to Batman or the spin-off books or, you know, random ongoing series for DC. He's got his voice, I think, starting to come into his own. The Woods is great. Memetic was great. So there's stuff there that I think raises him up above where he's been. And, you know, the one person I can't really speak to is Noelle Stevenson, because although I've now read the issues, I think a lot of it is about the reaction in the minute. So I don't know, what do you have to say about Noelle?
Well, the Lumberjanes is just hysterically funny and touching and sweet at once, and that isn't a juggle that happens all the time. We have a book that speaks to young girls, certainly, but to those of us who want to remember what it's like to be young in general, and that exploration, discovery, and it's there in every word balloon, every crazy expression, and all the silliness that goes with it. But it's still, they're characters you care about.
Yeah, it definitely it hits all the notes. That series, it's really spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, does anybody else anything want to say about any of the breakthrough writers?
No, I think we talked about everybody.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about single issue of the year, guys.
Let me tell you about a little book.
Okay, let me go through the nominees.
All right.
All right. We've got Afterlife with Archie #6, Bitch Planet #1, Gotham Academy #1, Lois Lane One Shot, and The Multiversity Pax Americana are our 5. Steve, tell me about this book.
Well, I would like to throw in a little bit for Gotham Academy.
Okay.
Gotham Academy has been over the break steadily making its way up my lists, and just I know how much everybody loves Afterlife with Archie, including myself and all of the other books that are on this list. But just remember when doing your numbers that Gotham Academy is not only a spectacular book, but has also, I don't know if I would say single-handedly, but definitely one of like the marquee things for this is introducing like a brand new like breath of life of like YA books into the comic book sphere. You have to be damn good to do that, and I would not be surprised if after books like Gotham Academy and the new Batgirl and stuff like that, that you're going to see more and more of these characters kind of out and living their lives and having adventures within their own personal lives. And with Gotham Academy, it has this really cool blend of like Harry Potter meets Nancy Drew, and it's just open for anybody. You can hand that book to anybody that loves those Harry Potter books, even if they're so removed from them at this point. Though I haven't read those in years. It's kid stuff now. I really liked it back then, but not anymore. I guarantee if you had them sit down and read Gotham Academy, they'd be like, you have the other issues, man. So every book on this list is spectacular, but that is one of the ones that's been climbing up the numbers for me.
To me, I think we have 5 books here that I'll revisit over the years.
Mhm.
They're books that I'm going to dive back into the box and go, I remember what I felt like when I read this the first time, in 5 very different worlds too, which
Yes.
is really neat in the way that it all broke down. My little bit of shilling will be for Lois Lane #1. Because I remember it was the show we did, it was just the 2 of us that one day where,
Sorry.
yes, okay, Grover Washington and Bill Withers. All right, there we go.
You know what? I would rather it be that than the other.
The Will Smith version. Yeah, well,
please.
I'm going old
Thank
school.
you, Bob.
And here's a character that in the New 52 is now not who she was. She's sort of off in the side, although she's the Red Tornado on Earth too now, right?
Yes,
Which
yes.
is kind of bizarre. And to see a Lois Lane who doesn't need Superman to rescue her at every minute, who's the intrepid reporter, the go-getter, who's got a story to go uncover that becomes very personal, that is now an emotional story about her sister and kids and lots of bad stuff. I don't want to spoil this because hopefully people will be reading this now. But just a spectacular book that could have just been a nothing, just a throwaway. Oh, we're going to throw Lois Lane on a book so we keep the copyright or whatever. No, it's a book that you should read.
Yeah, I mean, Lois Lane, I was very surprised, and we talked about that show. I was surprised how much I liked it, especially because at that point for me, that was what started turning me around on Marguerite Bennett. Because before that, I had liked the Batgirl issues, but it always been kind of under a cloud for me because of how they had interrupted the main series. So that's really turned me on. So the book did the job of being a great issue and turning me around on a writer who I now very much enjoy. I mean, anybody listens to the show knows what I'm going to shill for, and that's the Multiversity Pax Americana. I will use Steve's words from when we talked about the issue, which was it challenged the way he read comic books.
It still is. I've read it like 4 times now, and I'm still challenging.
The writing is obviously mind-bending and crazy, and the way that it spans different time periods and different realities and deals with huge ideas, and also is a exploration of the Charlton characters while also being an exploration of Watchmen at the same time. I think that amount of layering is obviously insane. I think the story is still very enjoyable in its own right. It has a cool little murder mystery plot to it. And that's all great. And, I could talk about the writing forever, but to me, what sets it up even above that is the Frank Quitely art, which the line work is gorgeous and detailed. And at times, it's beautiful to look at, and it's even beautiful when it's really, really difficult to look at. When it's really, really ugly and difficult to look at. That scene where he kind of takes apart the dog, which is gruesome in a lot of ways, but you can't take your eyes off of it. And I think that because of that, the book just soars above what everyone was expecting from this series. That's the kind of issue that I dream of when we get this sort of Grant Morrison series, and to get it and to deliver so well. I think was just amazing. And I still think about it. I still go back and look at it. And it just has stuck with me in a series, in a collection, a series of great issues, which, you know, a lot of them could have been on this list. To me, it stood head and shoulders above just because of that level of detail and the ideas that it was flowing through. So that's my pitch for Pax Americana. Yeah,
Nicely done.
Yeah, and obviously, look, Afterlife with Archie is amazing.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talked about that plenty of times, and I don't know even how much we talked about it when we nominated it, but because I think it was everybody's list. But we had a whole show where we talked about it for a very long time. It's an amazing book, and the whole series has been fantastic. And if it had come out more regular this year, it would have been in stronger contention for some of the other awards, obviously. But it's been out; it's going on for about a year, almost 2 years, and it's got 6 issues. You can't, you know, year and a half. It's got 6 issues. You can't do it. But
as a single issue,
it's unbelievable. It does everything that the series does right, but takes it away from the normal milieu of the series, incorporating elements and bringing new horror elements in that it wasn't before. You know, it's not playing on Romero anymore; it's playing on Lovecraft, and to be able to have that kind of dexterity, unbelievable.
And brilliantly playing in Lovecraft. It's very easy to do lousy pastiches of H.P. Lovecraft.
Right.
You throw in some beasties from other dimensions and use some long strings of adjectives, and you've got Lovecraft. Well, no, you don't. And that creeping horror that just kept building throughout the issue until the massive in italics payoff. Holy mackerel!
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so anybody else want to say anything? We're good to move on.
Nope.
All right, so let's move on to graphic novel.
Ooh.
Oh, I was just thinking about this.
Big category, new category for us. It used to be incorporated into another category. Won't be from now on, obviously.
How the hell did we ever do that?
We had read less of them, I think, in the years past. Graphic novel of the year. We have In Real Life, Seconds, Sing No Evil, Through the Woods, Zatanna, Black Canary, Bloodspell. So we already talked a lot about Through the Woods. We don't think we need to go over that again, though I would shill for that. I'm just going to say right now. See what I said 20 minutes ago, and I can add it onto this. Amazing book. So other than Through the Woods, anything to shill for? Steve.
Which do you want? Go.
I'm going to shill for Sing No Evil.
Right.
Still.
Do your thing.
All right. Well, I mean, I said a lot about it when we were doing the my mom.
Go, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. I can't read what you're saying right now, but I love you.
Thanks, Mom.
And so anyway, all right. So the deal with Sing No Evil is, you know, I talk about a lot of like personal experiences, how much comics have done for me in these 3 years, socially, spiritually, the whole thing. Sing No Evil is a book that came along, and it was Becky Cloonan who, you know, was like, hey, you should check this out. I looked at the cover. I said, wow, that looks like something I should read. And I read it. And, you know, I talk a lot about transportation and Through the Woods, how it propelled me back to, you know, those years with all those scary books and stuff like that. Sing No Evil not only brings me to like every good show that I've ever been to, and that sensation, that like elation that I have. Like, I love music. I love that. Like, there's something that I can't even describe at like my very core where certain bands, certain songs, like I just found a new band that I'm listening to called Bo Ningen, and they're just, it has been a while since I've been like fiendishly obsessed with something. And in the last 3 days, I have just chomped really hard into this band. And when I listen to stuff like that, I am just taken away from anything and everything and put into my happy place. This book pushes me in that direction with every page. The artwork in it is absolutely spectacular. All the little things that are hidden inside, how there's sacred geometry used to make some of the line work in the backgrounds, and that when the music is being played, it's coming off of the pages. Like, it's just wafting off of the pages. The notes are flying out. And all of that stuff, all of those like tablature notes and all that stuff, all the math to make those things is put into the style of the book, making it, for me, a little bit more than just a comic. It's almost like it's a tribute to that feeling and that sensation of seeing a live show. Not to mention that there's really great character moments and stuff like that all throughout. And it's got a little bit of a twist at the end that makes it fun and kind of propels it into another genre. I just think it's full of surprises. And even if it's not at the very top of somebody's list, maybe to kind of look at it again in these last final moments that we have one more time and just think about how much you can get out of it, or maybe just how much I got out of it, and then throw in a vote for me anyway. So I love this book so much. Yeah, if it's not Through the Woods, it's Sing No Evil.
This is a really, really tough category because there are 3 books on this list that I would feel just fine with, winning the category. I mean, I'd fly with any of them winning, but we talked about Through the Woods, and I'm going to fight for seconds at a later date, and I'll talk plenty about that. So I don't want to do that here. But I do want to say something in favor of In Real Life, because Stephanie isn't here, and obviously that book meant a lot to her. It's an important book, and that importance is obviously a big thing. But it means nothing if, in this context, if the book isn't good, right? If a book just has a message, you should read it, but it's not going to win awards. But In Real Life, it takes a very modern construct, which is kind of this MMO, gold farming, guild sort of format, and makes it a fully relatable story, I think, to anyone who reads it, and makes it a universal story about bullying, about acceptance, about different cultures. And it does it very definitely in a very entertaining way. I read it so quickly, and it was over, and I couldn't believe it was already over. The art in it is beautiful, and it's simple, but it's got a ton of personality to it. Just a really, really good book. And I wish Stephanie was here, because she'd be much more eloquent about it, because she feels more passionately about it than I do. But I think it's a book that deserves to be mentioned. I don't know if we got to talk about it very much when we nominated it. So just wanted to say.
Well, I want to throw something in on that, because when we discussed it that day, I came to that, I don't want to say with a preconceived notion, but I'm not a gamer. So I came into that oblivious to the entire construct. And I was won over really quickly. The characters are very well done. It is important, but again, it isn't a screed. It's a story, and a very well told story that makes you involved in that struggle. And there's something to be said for that. It's just a really great book. I'll throw the gauntlet down about seconds right now.
Okay.
Because what people would assume I'd probably vote for here has changed.
Oh, wow.
Dun, 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 dun.
Look, I bought 3 copies of Seconds for people for Christmas.
Ooh.
Is how much I thought of that book.
All right, then.
I'm a sucker for It's a Wonderful Life and things like that. The idea of what happens if. And that was done so well. And Scott Pilgrim was fun. This was deep and still fun, but there was something else there. There's that other level that really, it was poignant and sad and funny and creepy. Just a great book.
I mean, I love Seconds. It's one of my favorite books of the year. Absolutely, 100%. I totally agree with you. What Brian Lee O'Malley does so well is capture the awkwardness and the uncomfortableness of any era of life. Lost at Sea deals with being an adolescent. Scott Pilgrim deals with being in your early 20s, and Seconds deals with turning 30. It basically says there, life is going to suck in some way in every single point of your life. So just deal with it. But, as he deals with it, and as he matures as a writer and as a person, it gets to that age himself, he starts shaping his stories to reflect that stuff. And the theme behind Seconds, the idea of we're always looking back, saying, if I could just change this, or could just change that, or just change this, things would be perfect. And what Seconds tries to impart is that everything that happens to you is for a reason. It builds to something. It builds to who you are. It builds the person that you are. And there's a reason why we don't have control over everything. Because we would screw it up even worse than we already were if we had the chance to do that. And I love that about the book. It's very much a book about letting go of your past in a ton of ways. And his cartooning style has improved over the years. I mean, it's always been great, but it's even gotten better. And the inclusion of the Nathan Fairbrain colors, I think, lifts it up even more. It's a much more complete looking book now, and it reflects the age in which the characters are. It has a little more heaviness to it. It has a little more weight to it, but it also wraps it all in this, silly fantasy kind of trapping, this kind of almost, fable type of trapping. And I loved it. I mean, I think that it's when you make a list, and I'm finishing up my list for the site, it's really tough because I feel like at any given moment, books just start flying around the list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? However I feel that day. So Seconds on some days is my number one book of the year. On other days it's number 2 or number 3, but it's never farther down than number 3. And it's just a fantastic book.
Yeah, this is a category for me where things have shifted around a lot and did just a second ago. If you saw my pencil out.
Bob making changes.
It's really difficult to be on a podcast with you too, because when you go to bat for your stuff, you present such great arguments, and I'm just
we're really good at bullshitting. That's why.
Yeah. We had that other podcast where we did lots of this.
It's so ridiculous because I mean, everything on this list is spectacular in its own way. And then, like, what do I go for the important and poignant book because those things are important to me? Or do I go, for this evocative storytelling of something that's kind of this, beautiful progression? Do I go because I shit my pants reading a book? Like, it's seriously.
Or do you go for the power of fishnets?
Oh God, that book was great too.
Yes.
Like, we didn't talk about it, but holy crap! Like Zatanna and Black Canary Blood
Paul
Spells.
Dini and Joe Canonis. Yes.
Yeah, like doing that whole, like, we've read, what is that? It was Batgirl and Power Girl. They went to the movies. Dracula. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The
Brave and the Bold.
The Stephanie Brown.
Supergirl.
Stephanie
Supergirl. Not
Supergirl. Okay.
Supergirl.
Okay. This book reminds me of like a larger, more extended version of that. Like, the girls go out and have fun kind of thing and get up to like mischief and adventure. Yeah. Like, as far as like, that's an important comic book style to me. And the comic book that did that the best this year was this book. And that's important to me too.
Yeah.
And it just, well,
you've got another like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I know, but I just want anybody to know that however I vote, they're all amazing.
All right.
We do need to point that out for everyone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We have spent a lot of time getting to this. You heard those other arguments we had. Even the things we brought to the table before, the other 5 nominees in these categories, these are all the best of the best.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
No offense to anyone that doesn't win. These are all winners.
Yeah. So best story arc of the year. We've got Forever Evil, JLA, Stargirl, Ms. Marvel, No Normal, Saga Volume 4, She-Hulk, The Trial of Cap, and Wicked and the Divine, The Faust Act. All right. Who wants to bat for something here?
I'll go.
Go for it, Bob.
I'll take a shot. It's She-Hulk.
Okay.
Here's a book written by a lawyer. So we finally do get to a flat out, let's go to court, whole Perry Mason thing with surprise witnesses and hidden files and all the rest of it. And it's still She-Hulk funny. And we still get Patsy in her stealth suit and all the crazy things that have led up to this. What was unexpected to me, even though I've read lots of Charles Soule's work, was the absolute heart he showed in displaying, even in showing a 14-year-old Steve Rogers, what that character means and why he deserves to be Captain America. That you can find a new angle to tell a story about Captain America after that character was debuting in 1941 is pretty gosh darn special. And yet it was there. And it was in a little wink and a sly nod as we get to the end of this. And people will not get it spoiled by me right here as to who wins and why and how this plays itself out. The books are still out there in the stands. It's only it's the last 3 issues until the one that just came out and one more after this. 3 issues that you'll just absolutely love if you're a fan of deep Marvel history, She-Hulk, Cap, or just damn good writing.
All right. Steve, anything you want to shill for?
Ms. Marvel, No Normal. Do I need to shill for it?
I mean, I don't think you need to shill for Ms. Marvel. I mean, I think that we'll also get into Ms. Marvel a lot as we go farther on these lists. It's going to get its due at other points. I mean, I'll talk quickly about, Saga Volume 4. The only reason I'm gonna say very quick things about it, because we're gonna talk about Saga again a lot more, but especially for this volume, it's always been a great series, and I've always really, really liked it. Volume 4 was the first time that I think I truly, truly loved it. It was when I just became enamored, and it became the book I read first on the pile, and it had never been that for me before. I'd always really enjoyed it. I'd always thought it was ingenious and perfectly written and beautifully drawn, obviously, but it had always kind of been second or third or fourth in my mind. And this arc this year was the first time that it really became tops my list, and I think that's because it dealt with not the initial fire of the run, not the initial fire of the escape, not the action-packed, everything caught up in the moment stuff. It was the what happens after the moment's over. Where we've found a planet to live on. We're safe generally, but generally safe. And now all of a sudden, Marco has to raise his daughter alone while Alana goes off to a job that she hates, and she gets addicted to drugs, and it becomes like, what do you do when you have to actually keep your marriage going, not it's not being forced to keep going by you guys in the middle of that passion. Right. And I thought not a lot of books do that. I thought that also Sex Criminals this year did that as well, which I thought was really cool. But Saga does it, and it's something I expected from the book, and it raised the level of the book for me this year. Yeah.
Both in story and art.
Yeah. I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just want to say that, obviously Stephanie loved this and I loved it too, but the Forever Evil Stargirl stuff, I think is great. Yes. It reintroduces a character in a lot of ways that I really knew not much about. She had been gone since I started reading books again. She was back here really for the first time in any sort of starring role, and digging into her past and digging into her motivations led me to fall in love with the character just based on these 3 or so issues.
Right.
Some great art, some great writing, all across the board. Really elevated the book itself in JLA to its best, I think.
Yeah.
Was in those issues. And I was really taken by that character and by things. Tie-ins a lot of times can be not a great thing, and here it was great. Right.
I mean, the way that I read Forever Evil was I stocked up on several issues at a time. So I had the Justice League Dark, and Justice League United or America. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had all of those in a pile and was just reading, bouncing from one to the other, and would always be looking forward to going back to that one to see where her story takes her next, and the stuff with Martian Manhunter and all of that. If we had like a breakout character of the year category, she would have definitely been on it and way up there. Yeah, that was a great arc. That's my 2 cents.
There you go. I read that being a fan of the original. With Jeff Johns. And everyone took a shot at Bill Willingham. A lot of people went through the run that David Goyer even. I'm going to say nice things about the way David Goyer wrote Courtney. And her motivation's different here. It's a darker DC universe, so there's more tragedy in it than the playfulness that was the first time around. But she's still Courtney Whitmore. She's still that. No matter what, I'll find a way to do this.
Yeah.
It would be lovely to see the interaction that was before, where she was a legacy hero, where you had those older characters mentoring her and watching her. And they watched her grow and loved watching that happen.
Right,
and I'm hoping that'll happen as we move forward, as she becomes a bigger and bigger character in the DC universe.
Yeah, because they intimated that in the arc, that because her stepfather and her father, whatever, that there's a legacy there. They just don't go into it in those issues.
But very, very well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on, or are we?
Yeah, I mean, Wicked and the Divine. I mean, what can I say for it that I didn't say the first time when I brought it to the table? It's two creators that have, like, when you think of almost like buddy action creators like Chip Zdarsky and Matt Fraction, Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey doing what they do, they're SNOS in my mind. I put them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's two, class act creators doing what they do best and playing in an arena where they really, really get to shine and really get to show their personalities, and the art for it is just brilliant. The colors are spectacular, and it's just, they bring a very, very unique story to the field with these gods that come around every 90 or so years, and they only live for X amount of time. And what do you do if that's all the time that you have? And this time around, you came back as like a gaggle of rock stars, and it's fantastic. And like I said, it's a really, really good example of two people that love to work together, making something that you can feel the passion for it when you're reading it.
Absolutely.
And it's really engaging. I mean, we're not talking about the second arc, but the way that they started that second arc, where they completely changed the mood of the book, much like Sex Criminals did earlier in the year. It's as if like you're going on to the next album, like somebody's sophomore album, and they decided to do something radically different.
Right. Yeah.
So, but still playing with their strengths.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Yeah. Think about that.
All right. So let's go on to miniseries of the year. We have Hellboy in Hell, The Multiversity, Sheltered, Star Trek. What's the subtitle? Because you only abbreviated it.
Harlan Ellison, City on the Edge of Forever.
Okay. Winter Soldier, Bitter March.
We can't read it out that way. It's Hikariov.
Hikariov, which I would have said because I didn't remember all the abbreviations for it. All right. So, I mean, I'll go first. I'll talk about Multiversity very quickly. I mean, I talked about Pax Americana before, and Pax Americana aside, the first issue, the Multiversity, the Society of Superheroes, the Just, I guess is what it's called, Earth Me, Thunderworld, all of these books are absolutely fantastic. They're standalone issues that set up worlds. They are an interweaving whole that will hopefully, we haven't seen the end yet, that will hopefully pay off when it all.
Hopefully we will get to see the end.
When it all comes to an end. But the way that they are built and the different styles and the way that they not only are self-contained issues, but they are universe building. They are not just. Look, it would have been his original pitch. It would have been great to see him examine the existing universes and to play with them. But what the Multiversity has turned into, which is this thing where it's actually creating or recreating worlds, for other writers if they so wish to play in, if they want to make full series for. I think it is an amazing concept, and it's an amazing concept that's delivered on really, really well. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk about it obviously because we were on the break, but Thunderworld blew me away for the exact opposite reason that Pax Americana blew me away. You know what I mean? And for the fact that it exists in one series, I think is amazing. The pure joy and fun of Thunderworld, which I would say that radio play year and a half ago, whatever it was like that radio play. It was like that first story, and if reading that first story and then reading the Jeff Smith stuff and then reading that, it all fit together into this whole for me, and that was great. I think that the initial kind of big overarching story in the Multiversity, I think Captain Carrot and all these characters, it was funny and bizarre, but also really action-packed and really exciting. I love the pulp nature of the Society of Superheroes, all that stuff, and the kind of experimental weirdness, of the Just, I think is also really, really cool. So for me, it's just the diversity in itself and the display of artistry from both writing and art throughout the entire book is why it's the one I'm pushing for the most.
I was disappointed to start with because I did sort of want, we're going to get to spend some time in each of these universes that are gone. Not disappointed anymore because I'm just loving this way of doing it. It's New Earths that replicate some of what came before, but not entirely. It's all a little twisted. The whole haunted comic book universe to universe, we're always one behind kind of or one ahead.
Yeah.
The artwork across the board has been perfect for whatever book it's needed to be. I'm not the hugest fan. Hugest? Is this such a word? Whatever. And we haven't even opened up the Knob Creek.
No, we have not.
Frank Whiteley has never been better.
Yeah.
And then you follow it up with a light, fun Captain Marvel versus, Dr. Savannah and his kids and the Marvel family and all the greatness that is. I can't wait to see where we go forward.
Yeah.
I haven't read Thunderworld yet.
Oh, really?
Oh,
no.
God, it's so good.
I know.
So good. It's so amazing.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. Two people are telling me.
Yeah. So that's my push for Multiversity. Who else has got an argument they want to put forward?
Did you guys read Sheltered?
I did. I read it all.
What'd you think?
I fucking love that book.
All right. Yeah, in all seriousness, I've been pushing Sheltered pretty much all of last year on people every time it came out. Yeah, Multiversity is spectacular, but I mean, Sheltered is one of those books that, for me anyway, I keep hearing conflicting stories. I have people telling me that it's been picked up for TV, and then I have people saying like, no, I haven't heard anything.
Well, it's been optioned. I know I was doing research on it, but who knows what's gonna happen.
All right. I think that whoever is thinking about it should take them up on it and develop it and try it out. It is one of those books that has always been at the top of my pile. The scenario that is given to you in this book is just this really, like, the twist in the story happens right at the end of the first issue and presents you with a situation that is like Lord of the Flies meets pre-apocalypse. We always read these post-apocalyptic stories.
Yeah.
Now you get a pre-apocalyptic story of a group of children that have pretty much been meeting in secret and have come to the conclusion that in building these forts to survive this volcano that's supposed to erupt, they then kill the parents and take over the compound and try to then defend the compound from outsiders. And it becomes, you know, detectives versus kids versus, you know, this super armed, you know, almost like trailer park society. And the character moments that are in there, the struggle going on from one side to the other, constantly like deception and
switching
lying
sides,
and switching sides. And you don't really know, because even still, like, it's ending in a couple of issues. And like, I'm just waiting for all of that doomsday stuff to like actually happen and for it to have all been real and for a purpose, and just watch it all burn and just watch this kid either be like, I told you, or whatever, and find out who's left at the end of this.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I love being there for it.
Yeah.
It reminds me really of an extended Twilight Zone sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
it's where you're always on edge. What's going to happen? And then it does, and you're still on edge because it didn't go where you thought.
Yeah, it's got a lot of action, it's got a lot of violence, it's got a lot of vulgarity, but these are kids living in this situation, and not all of them have matured.
No.
You know, and that's the way it's going to be. And I just love how straightforward and creative it is, and how it manages with every issue to end with one of those like last page, like, oh, and you have to read the next one. So I've loved the living hell out of that book all year.
Yeah, and what's great about it is that, you know, there is and what Steve said is not even a spoiler. It happens like the first 3 pages of the book. That's all Steve told you about. It was like the first 3 pages of the book. So that's great. And what I love about it is that it feels to me, you know, I think that what Shelter does best is that its plot is fantastic, and it's got like the pedal to the metal at all times. You know, it feels to me like a really great, you know, like TV miniseries in a lot of ways, you know, where, you know, I don't have a super connection to like any of the characters really. I'm not like, I really love you and I hate, you know, there's characters you don't like, definitely, because they're just really nasty characters, but they're more kind of, you know, big kind of amalgamations, or like, I don't want to say stereotypes because that's like a bad
archetypes.
They're archetypal characters, but the plot is so good, and the forward motion and the it's so good in the story that it doesn't matter, you know. And what's interesting too is that Lucas, right, is the main guy. By all accounts, you should really, really hate him, and for most of the book, you do hate him. But as you get to the end of the series, like, you hate him less. Like, you still don't agree with what he did, you know. But there's part of you that's like, I kind of understand where you're coming from at this point, you know. And I love the idea though also of that, whether or not, how many of these kids actually believe that the volcano is coming or not is I think is up in the air. But they all force themselves to believe it because of what they did.
Right.
And I think that's a very interesting societal, you know, construct to deal with.
How do you live with yourself?
Exactly. And it's gone to directions I didn't really expect. Like the last 3 or 4 issues has been really different than I expected. I love it. It's really great.
I'm really
book.
glad that you enjoyed it.
It's a really great book.
I'm gonna, before I shill for something, I am going to mention an old movie that you're not going to be able to find, but it's from 1961. It's called Ladybug.
I remember Ladybugs.
No, that's not like that. It's a rural school, and all of a sudden, again, this is 1961. So when I was going to school, we had fire drills once a week. Once a month, we had air raid drills.
Oof.
Where you went out in the hallway and buried your head in your hands and hoped
That
that
had
the
to have
atom
been
bomb
so
didn't fall.
frightening.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. In my elementary school, we had a fallout shelter in the basement
Oh my God.
Wow.
with the signs and the whole mess. Well, in this story, the air raid sirens go off, and they can't get anyone on the phone to decide, is it real? Is it a drill? What's going on? And they start sending kids home. And one of the groups of kids has a fallout shelter.
Mhm.
And some kids get to go in and some don't.
Mhm.
And there's a struggle among all these like 12-year-old kids as to who stays and who goes. And
What is this called?
Ladybug.
I feel like
Directed by Frank Perry.
I've either seen it or I've heard.
Nancy Marchand is in it.
I
who
might
was
have
in
seen
The
it.
Sopranos.
I might
and-
have seen
okay.
it. Okay.
Used to be on TNT years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a real scary movie.
Cool.
So on the old sci-fi front, segue,
Yeah. Tell us about
Star Trek.
Heckotofa.
Yes. Now, again, I am a Trekkie from way back. I was sitting in front of the television September 8th, 1966. We just passed the 50th anniversary of their beginning filming.
Wow.
The original pilot a few weeks back. And science fiction on television was anthologies or kid shows until Star Trek. And there are bum moments in Star Trek, and you can go down a list as Carolyn and I have, Carolyn Coca, and the list, this one with Spock's brain, which is so hideous, and so on and so forth. But when Star Trek was at its best, it was not about spaceships and ray guns and fighting and aliens. It was pure science fiction. And in City on the Edge of Forever, it's what is the cost to saving the universe personally? What choice do you make? How do you make that choice? What weapons do you bring to that battle within yourself to change things or not? And I'm trying not to spoil this because not everyone may have seen this. It's brilliant science fiction that does not require decades of having watched Star Trek to get. If you know, because it's modern mythology, who Kirk and Spock are, that's all you need coming into this. Bobby, you did read?
I did read it. Yes,
Yeah.
I did read it, and I enjoyed it. I absolutely did. I mean, I don't want to be countering any of your
Right.
points because this is your chance to like do your thing. I enjoyed it. I think not having a huge investment in those characters definitely maybe tempered my enjoyment, or not my enjoyment, my investment in it.
Okay.
Because I do like those characters. Don't get me wrong. I've watched all the Star Trek movies. You know, all the original series movies. I haven't watched the original series itself, but I do enjoy, and I enjoy that universe a lot. But I thought the ideas were really great, and you're absolutely right. It is, the ideas in it are amazing, and the questions raised are amazing. But I just, for whatever reason, it did not connect with me the way that it had connected with you. But still, I mean, like we always say, these are all great.
Right.
You know, and Hellboy in Hell is great, obviously, and Winter Soldier Bitter March is also fantastic. We talked a lot about that. It's a great throwback story. Just a really good job of casting who is now very much a hero as a villain, even if they created it to come along with the movie just because they wanted to have a Winter Soldier book where he's a bad guy. It was fantastic. Recommender did a great job with that book. All right, so we're getting to the
big boy awards.
Yeah, the big boys. Even though let's say those weren't big boy awards. Best new series of 2014.
All right.
Deadly Class, Gotham Academy, Ms. Marvel, Sensation Comics, and The Wicked and the Divine are our 5 nominees for best new series. Steve, what do you want to show for?
Oh, God. I'm showing my hands, but I am all in for Ms. Marvel this year. Best new series. I mean, can you think, as fantastic as so many things were this year, can you think of any other series that made as big of a splash as Ms. Marvel did? And for everybody, or a lot of people, to be caught up in the excitement and just the freshness of the character and this little, corner of Marvel, or something that came out of like Inhumanity and all of that stuff that was leading up to the Terrigen bomb going off. And, we have Charles Soules' Inhuman, and we're meeting a whole bunch of people, and they're all very interesting. And they're, some of them are really cool, but then you have G. Willow Wilson and, Kamala Khan over in Jersey, and they're blowing it up. and it's amazing. The art for it is absolutely playful and spectacular and fits that world. It has such like authenticity to it. It's just such a unique vibe. Like it's just, the characters are so awesome. All the little animals that are stashed around that world. It almost becomes like a little highlights book where you got to find the things on the list. And for what Kamala means, not only to, you know, an entire group of people, but for comic book readers in general, of she's given an identity to so many new readers, and so many people have come on to comics because of her. And even if they're just reading Ms. Marvel, that's okay. She has been that important this year. And like Bob had said, you know, she's, I don't know, I guess this generation Spider-Man, quite possibly, or you know, continuing to be handled correctly or properly or whatever, could stand to be one of the most important comic book characters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think anything that creates that kind of just fever pitch in the fandom deserves to be recognized and looked at for what it really is. And not to mention that the book itself is spectacular. All the stuff that it has to teach its readers, it's entertaining, it's funny. And for anyone who's not particularly into comics, it's the perfect character who's being ushered into and introduced to this superhero world, that it's as if like you're hand in hand with Kamala going through this and going through this adolescent change of stuff. And I just think that it's spectacular, and I've like endeared myself to her and her adventures and the way she is, how she gets excited to work with Wolverine, and she's fighting her own villains and stuff, and it's just all new and it's fun and it's fresh. And she reminds me of me. Like if you got to hang out with Spider-Man or you got to hang out with Wolverine, you would geek out.
Yeah.
You would totally flip out. Be like, can you do the thing with the claws, man? Come on. Tell me you don't give a shit. Come on. You know? And she does all of that. And I just read it and I go, aw. And again, she gave something to the comic book reading community that in my, I've only been in this for 3.5 years, whatever, but she gave something brand new to a very, very long tradition of putting out books. That this is a comic that came onto the scene and has created, she's just an unstoppable force, both in sales and in people's hearts, to be really cheesy, and minds and everything.
Hearts and minds.
I'm really, really attached to the character, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful series, and every issue has been outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to. I can disagree with you on that. I mean, I Ms. Marvel is my clear like favorite in this category, for all of the reasons that you said. It's a wonderful book. You know, beyond all the social implication, all like that, leaving that all, even that had nothing to do with it, at all. Ms. Marvel is a fantastic new series in the way that introduces a new character to the world, a new part of kind of the Marvel universe as well. And it's also a fantastic new series because the heroic journey of this character is perfect for the superhero milieu. As groundbreaking it is in so many ways, it fits into the classic mold of Marvel heroes, of the great Marvel heroes. And for all of those reasons, I think that in 2014, it was an incredibly special book. And each story, it works on in a grassroots, you know, bare bones kind of way. Its stories are great. It has a great cast of supporting people. You know, all of those things are what make it great. And it's a testament to Adrian Alphona, fantastic artist, and those pages that he brings to the table are unbelievable and some of the best art of the year. It's a testament to the quality of the book that when a fill-in artist came in, and Jake Wyatt, I think his name was, I love those issues just as much as I love the issues with Adrian Alphona. So the series as a whole and encapsulated has been just great. And so that for that reason, I totally agree with you. I mean, there are other series I love here. Don't get me wrong. I love just about everything on this list, but in my opinion, like, I don't feel the need to shill for anything else simply because I think Ms. Marvel is that good. So
yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, Bob, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I've said lots about Ms. Marvel earlier today. That there's this book, briefly. A teenage girl acting like a teenage girl with all the joy of her new discoveries, as Steve's pointing out, that she can hang out with Wolverine even while they're fighting giant sewer alligators, or the parrot-headed clone of Thomas Edison, or just these crazy things. And she sort of takes it in stride. What she takes less in stride is her problems at home, dealing with her families the way we all did when we were that sort of age. And it plays as real. As fantastic it is, it plays as reality. And I'm stuck. I thought I'd love this book coming in, and it's way beyond any of the expectations I had to start.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's move on then from new series to best artist of 2014. We have Michael and Laura Allred, Francesco Francavilla, May Emerios, Fiona Staples, and Chip Zdarsky. Bob, who do you want to put it in for?
I'm going for what my pick was to start with, Michael and Laura Allred, who beyond they did wonderful 3D stuff coming down the end. We still had some of the covers on how many books, the amazing finales of Matt Fraction's FF, which we're forgetting, came out so long ago in this year, but those books with those kids were sensational. And the Silver Surfer is this brilliant, mind-blowing, crazy, fun, bizarre, weird amalgam of, it's Doctor Who-ish, if there is such a word. But it's still classic Marvel. There's anyone you want to see draw these sort of 60s iconic characters. When he brings the Defenders back in, you see Doctor Strange and the Hulk riding in the back of a pickup truck, for goodness sakes. And bizarre moments of space, the final frontier. It's just out there in all its glory, in all these amazing colors and pencils and nuttiness. And all of it comes down to, wow, I want to watch the Silver Surfer have lobster bisque. And it's the small moments as well as the big. And I love Jack Kirby. He's my favorite artist of all time, and no one did big better than Kirby. Mike Allred in this series, putting it pretty close, getting it out there. So Michael and Laura Allred, if they did nothing but Silver Surfer this year, they'd be at the top of my list.
Bob.
All right. Well, Steve, what do you have any shills?
I'm just gonna I would say continued excellence deserves to be recognized. And I said a little bit about it before, but Fiona Staples and her work on and even some of her cover art throughout the year has been absolutely spectacular whenever she's done a guest cover for whichever series. But not only has Saga been the best that it's been since the start, but her art has just grown. And just I know for a fact, I follow her on Twitter and Instagram and all these things, that she got and trained with a lot of new art programs this year, and in learning them tried a couple of like the methods or exercises or whatever on the book. And I think that some of the stuff that she used to create some of the newer characters and some of the newer vistas, and not to mention the research that goes into the creatures in the world that she creates, and not to mention the anatomy of the human body, it takes an extraordinary talent to do those things and to make them appear as if they only exist within that space. Like all that happens within Saga stays in Saga. Nobody else is creating a world like that, like Sextillion and all these crazy, that troop, that the green moss woman that she's walking around with, all the stuff with the robot heads and the little seal dude. Like it's all so creative and playful. And we talk about like some people, their favorite thing in the entire world is Star Wars. I'm not one of the biggest Star Wars fans, but one of the things that I absolutely love about those, especially the original movies, is going into like the cantina and seeing all the different creatures and the band, not that shitty stuff that they added in later with the musical number, but all of that like puppeteering and just weird cobbled together things, and not to mention the people as well, Alana and Marco, and the expressions on their face and the longing and the pained waiting for her to come home, and she disappears, And all of that stuff is felt. And I think because of the art and the story, we're now feeling that book like we had, like we did back when it first started. There's a reason for that, and a lot of, at least half of that, would go to Fiona for her incredible art.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that it's a testament to how great her art is that we barely mention the name Brian K. Vaughan whenever we talk about Saga, right?
Right.
His name is barely mentioned. Maybe that's probably a crime, right? That we don't talk about him more. But her art is so amazing, and her imagination is so robust and unbelievable that it dominates that book to me. All of those worlds, all of those situations, they're just the best thing, you know? And, you know, I don't have much more to say than you said. I think you said it great, so I'm not going to add too much to it, but that would have been my pitch as well. Everyone on this list is great, obviously. I mean, you can't really argue.
Yeah, Emma Rios' work on Pretty Deadly was pretty amazing.
Yes.
Haha.
Francesco Mancaviglia,
on
obviously,
everything.
on
Yeah.
everything, but especially, you know, after with Archie, it's just unbelievable. And obviously Chip is Chip, but he, I think the way he goes about things on Sex Criminals, it's an art style completely in contrast with the story in which it's being told, but using that sort of, you know, Bruce Timm-like look that he has going on in his art, you know, it makes those characters, I think, much more lovable than they would be if it was something more realistic. You know, I think the book would be less palatable if it was more realistic. And so his art, I think, really brings that book home in a way it wouldn't with another artist.
And Howard the Duck is coming.
It's true.
Oh, man.
But he's not drawing, he's writing it. Joe Quinones is drawing it.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Chip is a crazy man, so we'll see what happens with that stuff.
You'll read it.
Yes.
All right. Best writer of 2014.
Oh my God.
So,
Yikes.
okay, I'm gonna put. Let's talk about Matt Fraction. That's the person I want to kind of put it in for here. And we'll go right to Sex Criminals using the phrasing I just used. Hey-o.
Yeah.
You know, like I mentioned before about Seconds to the Woods. These books are these books float around my top 10, and while it could be number one at any time, and Sex Criminals is one of those books, right? Sex Criminals is number one, or it's number three, or it's number two, but it's always one of the top books in my mind, and it's that book that connects many of the things that I love about storytelling. I love bizarre situations and stories. I love when someone can take a bizarre situation and make it relatable. You know, one of the things that I dislike is when bizarre situations are put into bizarre circumstances, bizarre characters, and it just layers on top of one another, and you lose any kind of thread, there. Sex Criminals, which is a story about people who can stop time when they come, is very easily could have sunk into that, you know. But what Fraction does so well is there are relatable characters throughout the entire piece. You know, characters that we follow all the time, like John and Susie, and then new characters like Robert Rainbow, who comes in for an issue, are extremely relatable and understandable. Even the bad guys in the story are relatable. And much like I talked about with Saga, Sex Criminals begins in this heist, right? It's pedal to the metal. We're in the middle of passion, and then the second arc is what happens now. And that's a brave thing to do because it's not as easy to write, right? Oh boy. People are gonna hear the mess up on the audio. Sorry guys, hold on a second.
It happens.
It happens. Sorry guys, we're restarting. All right, so then it's what happens now, you know, and that's a brave thing to do. It's a really, really brave thing to do, and I think that you don't get that in a lot of fiction at all. It's, you know, it's indie movies and some, you know, very, very good television shows will deal with those things, but most things don't deal with those moments, those quieter moments, and dealing with things like depression and addiction and intimacy issues, and all of these things I think are really brave and really important, on top of being a hilarious and clever and always inventive series that every issue I'm not really sure what's gonna come out of it. So to me, that a lot comes from Matt Fraction. It, you know, his personality, it feels like that, you know, sort of the brainchild book, the book that's everything about Matt Fraction is in this book. Everything we love about him in this book. Not to mention, I mean, obviously, very sparingly, we got great issues of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
He wrapped up his Fantastic Four stuff this year as well. And, you know, everything he's written this year I've liked, but, you know, Sex Criminals and Hawkeye are, when Hawkeye comes out, still one of the best books that comes out. Sex Criminals, again, I think one of the top 3 books of the year. So that's my pitch for Mad Fraction.
And Odyssey, no less.
Odyssey,
It just
right?
started
Absolutely,
coming, which
yes.
is
Odyssey,
a
absolutely.
Crazy, nutty thing
That
too.
book. Oh,
You read it the right way, but that was kind of backwards. That's all.
Man,
You shouldn't have read that chart.
You want to talk about books that challenge you? It challenges me. I don't know if it challenges everybody out there. Like, oh, I could read it anytime. I can't. It's rough on my brain. I like it though. I've already said so much for G. Willow Wilson with my Ms. Marvel tirade. You want to say anything for Gail Simone?
Well, I'll talk about this category in general. This is the toughest one for me because looking at this list, these are people who, when their books come out, they're the bottom of the pile, which means they're the last one. I want the best impression leaving off here. Certainly, we always talk about how you shouldn't dismiss or overlook continuing high quality, which Scott Snyder certainly continues to do on Batman, and then brought Superman back,
and
with
Witches.
Superman and Chain, and then on his creator-owned book.
Yes,
right.
And something similar could be said, I guess, for Gail Simone and Kelly Sue DeConnick, in that here your creators have now been doing this for a while, and yet Gail's The Movement was spectacular. The way it ended, which could have been a mess, and it was not. As compressed as it all was, it still tugged at your heartstrings. Leaving Megalopolis was a heck of a lot of fun. Red Sonja, who I had no inkling in ever wanting to read a Red Sonja book. And that's something else I gave to people for Christmas this year. It's like, you've got to read this because this is not what you think it is from that crappy movie from years ago.
Just don't mind the smell.
And it's not right. It's not even that old comic book either. It's now something else. She is a much different character that everyone can embrace and enjoy. And now moving forward, we're going to see her doing Secret Six again.
When we were asked that question of if you could put any 2 characters from different universes in a book, I just thought of one. I would love to see Red Sonja and Thor out on a night on the town to go in search of grog.
And for Kelly Sue DeConnick, Captain Marvel in space has been really special. The issue that just brought Carol back to Earth for a really touching reason, if no one's read,
I have not read it
number
yet.
10, which was the 100th issue of all the Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel issues put together. They'll finish up tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah, when you're listening to this.
And we had the brilliance that was pretty deadly. And some lovely digital books. Her Superman, Lois Lane Valentine's Day story was very, very good. And Ghost, which I lent you number 4, which has some of my favorite moments in comics this year. And that sort of, as I spoke about Marguerite Bennett and the spread of work, it's hard to be good in all these places. You talk about a basketball player, if you're Larry Bird or Julius Erving or Michael Jordan, where you fill up the box score. Well, when you can do triple and quadruple doubles and just nail every single book you're on for an entire year, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that we have here, I mean, G. Willow obviously is doing the one book, but a lot, 4 out of the 5, I think, are all those kind of writers, which is why it's so tough. I mean, Scott Snyder, in the craziest turn of events ever, barely got on our list, right? He was the last person to hit our list. And, for me this year, and I say this, Batman has had a year that is less for me than the previous 2 years. It's still in my top 10 books, possibly in my top 5 books of the year. His Return to American Vampire has been great. Witches is a fantastic new series. He was, like you said, Superman was great. So he is still doing amazing work. And when I look at that whole body of work, it still is one of the things where I'm like, how do I not put him highly on when I do these votes, because I still, when I look at just, the list of books that he has and actually look at it, I'm like, I like every single thing here.
Yeah.
Half of the Wake was also this year, so there is so much good stuff this year from him. So it's really tough. We talked a lot about G. Willow already,
Yeah.
And you spoke about Kelly Sue and you spoke about Gail, and I think you spoke about them beautifully. So I think I need to add to them, but these kind of lists are really, really hard, and there's so many writers too. We get a list of 5 that is an amalgamation of 4 people's lists. So you're talking about, we come out to 20 writers that have to get put down to 5. So there are writers that are not on here, like Jason Aaron, like Ed Brubaker,
Mark Waid,
like Mark Waid. Sorry about that one. That are on here that, that deserve to be recognized just as much as these people do. So this is one of the toughest lists we can possibly do. But
that's why we all have our own lists, and you people get to vote and put your own things onto this.
We'll read those in the second half as well. So ongoing series, Daredevil, Ms. Marvel, Rat Queens, Saga, and Sex Criminals. I mean, we've spoken a lot about a lot of these series.
Yeah, can I make a proposition?
Yeah.
Explain to me why Daredevil was better this year than it was last year.
I don't know if it was better than it was last year, but it was at least as good. And last year it was my favorite book. So,
so it's on the list.
Yeah.
But the thing about Daredevil is, look, I love when things do things differently, right? I love when people are experimenting. I love when people are turning things upside down. Those are my favorite things in the world. Daredevil is not that. Daredevil is Mark Waid and Chris Samney doing what, in my opinion, is the best superhero book on the market, month in and month out, and keeping him true to who he has always been, but not leaving out things that have happened to him. They don't just erase 30 years of history. Every single thing that's happened to him is incorporated into his character, right? He's the fun-loving guy, but he's also the guy who went through a lot of shit for a lot of his life. And the dichotomy of that, playing that character in a hero, I think is wonderful, because it not only deals with how Matt deals with it, but it deals how the other people in his life deal with it, right? Because we've all had friends, we've all had people who have gone through shit in their lives, and you always have that fear in the back of your head that they're going to slip back into that bad part, whether it be, with drugs or alcohol or depression or whatever it might be. And that is layered throughout this entire book, not to mention, obviously, gorgeous. Chris Samney is an amazing artist. He can do fun, he can do action, he can do sentimental, he can do subtle, he can do huge over the top. All of these things he can do beautifully, amazingly. And even the fill-in artist, Javier Rodriguez, in the 2 issues he did, which are the original Sin tie-ins, were amazing. The detail, beautiful. And those 2 stories, which deal with, spousal abuse and adoption and what it means to be a parent, all of those things. They're huge ideas, but he does them in a way that doesn't feel like you're being preached to. It feels like you're getting a real organic story. And it's tough to do that. It's really tough to do extreme stories like that and very layered stories like that in a pop culture medium, which is why I've always loved people like Hitchcock and Spielberg, because they deal in a very mainstream medium, but they do very interesting things. Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like Mark Waid and Chris Samney are doing here. They're doing a superhero book that has deep roots in the original Marvel, ethos, but they're doing it their way. It never feels stale. It never feels like a rerun. It always feels fresh. They moved the character to a different city, and New York has always been a character in the Daredevil book. So moving it could have taken the rug right off from underneath it, and it didn't. It made the book, we could say, just as good. The Purple Man arc was fantastic. It's just a great book. Every year in, year out, issue after issue. We talked about continued excellence before, Fiona Staples. That's what I feel like Daredevil is. I feel like since it debuted 3 years ago, it's been one of, if not the best book that's been coming out. So to me, that's why it belongs there.
I've been holding in a sneeze for the past 45 seconds.
No sneezing. No sneezing.
I mean, other than Rat Queens, we've I feel like Stephanie would have come in to talk about that. Rat Queens has been spectacular. I mean, it's had a small bump in the road, but that doesn't diminish the quality and the roller coaster that book has been throughout the year.
No.
And, I guess cultural significance or spurning lots of shirts and other stuff aside, that book is so much fun.
It is pure fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
It deals in fantasy trappings. It deals in a lot of stuff that is very well worn and does it in an incredibly fresh way.
Mm-hmm. Takes all those D&D aspects, and I mean, the first arc was called Assassin Sorcery, but and that's what it is. That's what it's got. It's got an attitude to it that I think its attitude alone earned it its spot on this list, because it's undeniable.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Are we moving on to overall?
I think so.
We good to move on?
Yeah.
All right.
Because I would have done some Rat Queens, but you did. So you did it so well, we don't have to go anywhere.
I
But
guess
that's
so.
perfect.
I felt like, a little mention for each thing.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Overall comic. Obviously some overlap with ongoing and some books we've talked about. Bandette, Ms. Marvel, Saga, seconds, and sex criminals. A lot of S's. The last three are all S's.
It made alphabetizing these categories very easy, though. I just had to look for that. I'm going to talk about Bandette a little bit because this was something that Stephanie brought up to us initially when it was only digital through Monkey Brain. And it is, if for people old enough to remember, actually all you guys now know because it was a movie, Tintin. It has that sort of very European quality. It also reads as if it's French translated into English. It has this very odd meter to the way the words are coming out. It is fresh and funny and wonderful. It is the grandest caper of all time, but yet it's a little girl. She's a teenager who's still learning about life, but she's learning it her own way and having a grand time doing it. Great supporting characters, wonderful scenery. I'm describing this as if it's a Hitchcock movie. You know, it's To Catch a Thief, but only it's this little girl and her adversaries, her friends, the urchins, the police department, who sort of on her side and maybe not. It's a book that I have the hardcover, which Dark Horse did a just wonderful, wonderful edition of with tons of DVD extras, so to speak. And it's a book, just as with Faith Erin Hicks' Adventures of the Superhero Girl, it sits on the, when I go into my comic archive room, it's right on the top of the shelf, and I never fail to open it up and look at it. Now, I'm just picking random pages to look at, and I never fail to get a smile. In an era of some lot of heavy stuff in comic books, that there is something that is just, as the book says on the front cover, presto. I'm in a better mood.
Is that on any particular schedule, or do we know when we're getting a volume 2?
Volume 2 comes out in late February, early March, as I recall, was in the last previews.
Excellent. So
the next hardcover, I think it is again from Dark Horse.
That's
I'm
awesome.
not certain of that, but I've definitely already pre-ordered my copy.
Yeah, I remember reading mine and rereading it. And it's wonderful. It's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. I want to say, just as we're going into the break here, we're going to get to the part of the breaks coming up very soon. There is literally, right now, in Best Web and Digital Comic, I'm just going to do this one, Sensation Comics and Injustice Gods Among Us. Injustice Gods Among Us is winning right now with 26.6% of the vote. Sensation Comics is second with 26.06% of the vote.
A couple of more votes there for Wonder Woman, guys. Let's go.
Oh, man.
You could turn the tables.
Remember Linda Carter.
Yeah.
Actually, that's coming soon. Next year, maybe it'll be Wonder Woman 77.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I mean, all the other books, except for Bandette, we've all talked about at length here. You know, Sex Criminal Saga, Ms. Marvel have all gotten their due. All fantastic books. All at any time could probably be a number one on any of our lists. So I think that's going to do it for us going over the nominees and doing our deliberations. So for the people listening after the fact on the podcast, we're going to take a little break and we'll come right back with our results for the Talking Comics Awards for 2014. If you are listening here right now on the stream, we're going to keep the stream going so that you guys can hang out and we have a little story time. You're going to get a little behind the scenes, guys. It's not going to be super entertaining. We're going to be
I guess you need to do math.
Give me counting. We'll talk a little bit. I've got to go talk to my wife because I haven't seen her all day. We'll get drinks and stuff like that. But if you guys want to hang around and just kind of, you know, watch along with us. The only time we'll probably mute it is if we have to go over the winners within each other. If there's a tie or something, we'll go over it with ourselves,
which we've had
before.
Yeah.
But so until then, like, guys, we're gonna keep the stream going. So if you guys want to shoot us some questions on Twitter, it's @TalkingComics. Use the hashtag that's on the screen @TCPodAwards, and we'll answer them on the break, or comment on the YouTube, and we'll answer them there. But yeah, so we're gonna keep it going. But I'm gonna hand in my ballot to Bob. Steve, is your ballot finalized?
No.
So you got to finalize that ballot, sir.
No hanging chads.
You guys, I stopped updating because I was listening so intently.
So Stephanie sent in her ballot here, so you can see like it's these numbers on the right here. She did it wrong on the side, did it right on the side.
Okay.
So
if I have to ask,
all right, let's see.
Yeah, and there's mine. Bob. All right, so Bob's
got -1.
Yeah, no, don't worry about that. Do on these sides, on the right side. And Bob will tabulate, and then we'll go over it. So yeah, so if whoever sticks around, we'll be probably doing this for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be back. So if you guys want to stick around, great. If you guys want to go away and come back in 10 minutes, absolutely. We'll make sure we tweet it out when we're coming back. I've got to go stay out of my wife. So you guys are going to have to hold up the stream while we do this.
Oh, boy. And here I am
Here you are,
concentrating.
you're concentrating. Hey, if I give you $3, no, I'm sorry. Bobby's not in the room anymore.
I'm right here.
They can't see you. Well, now they can.
So I would say
I'm not putting any numbers down because I could influence your vote.
no. My
I don't
vote's
know. What do you think? What do you think,
No,
Chief?
start going.
Okay.
Don't let Steve see.
We need one of those things from the polling.
Don't let
booth.
Steve see.
Oh. What do you say?
I'm the best.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Best artist. I like everybody. What? Oh, man. All right. Do. Let's see here. This is so entertaining for everybody listening.
All right,
Me
don't worry.
thinking real hard.
It's fine.
For the kids at home, I'm going to just slowly
Hey,
start peeling
kids.
off my blazer.
You like violence?
Do-do-do. Let's see. Damn. Compelling arguments being made earlier. Making me. I had this all figured out before I came here.
Alrighty. Did you read Squirrel Girl, Steve?
Oh my God. Yes.
Hysterical.
I read Squirrel Girl on my way to go see Louis C.K. And people sitting around me didn't know what the hell was going on with me because I had headphones on.
Mhm.
So I'm listening to music and I'm reading this book, just like riotous laughter coming out of me every couple of panels. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that book next week, but I know the year just started, but it's easily my favorite that I've had in the pile. I'm so glad that it came out, and it's obviously made, like, the day that it came out, so many people were talking about it, tweeting about it, posting things about it. I'm really glad that the reception to it was as positive as it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she could be an incredible addition to this kind of like uprising of female-led books, and hopefully one of the ones that sticks around for as long as it needs to, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't get prematurely canceled.
Well, it's gotten a lot of good press.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of good press. So and a lot of good attention. It's got a lot of on social media.
It was funny.
It was really
Like, it was
hysterically funny.
super funny.
Did you pull out a magnifying glass to read the stuff at the bottom of the page?
You know what? I was reading it and I noticed it probably about 7 pages in that there was stuff written at the bottom. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, they're pulling some Matt Kent down here.
I thought it was just bleeding through for a while, but it turns out, no, it's some funny stuff down there too.
Yeah, no, I started reading. So I went all the way back and then I realized that it corresponds with whatever's happening on the page. So it's like a roving commentary. And oh man, it's awesome. Let me see here. I'm just making a few final adjustments. I'm just gonna copy this over here. Dun, dun, dun.
Vamp, just vamp for a while.
Hey guys, for those of you listening and for those of you watching live, I'm just gonna put it out there for you. But I'm the one that chose Electra #6 for the cover, and I've won the last 2 years. Let's keep it with this year too. It's such an
Well,
ass.
you're the cover maven.
We both
So-
are. We share that column, Bob.
Nah.
I post
Sure.
it, but you make it magic.
Oh yeah. I'll give you $3 later just for that.
You do.
So should we have a little?
Yes.
Oh yes, indeed.
I thought you were trying to see my votes. I know. You're not going to see them in a minute anyway.
I care about your votes.
Yeah, you do. Everybody cares about my vote. My votes count. Let's see. Oh man. No. You know what? Sorry. I gotta do it. I'm pretty comfortable with this. I am just about done. Yeah, no, a couple of my things did change. It's a good thing we talked this out. And let's see.
Knob Creek is good. I'm actually pulling out a little Glenfiddich.
Ooh. And I'm done. I'm good.
Do you guys want any water in here to cut it, or?
Nah,
No.
it's too good. Okay, Shin.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
Whiskey
Oh.
stones.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I love these
To the
ice cubes
awards.
you've got.
Yeah, the whiskey stones.
To the awards. And to Stephanie. May she fly safely.
We subbed out the Knob Creek Glenfiddich 18-year.
Yow.
That is good stuff. Oh, we're already getting a phone call over the fact that we finally had a drink.
We have
Yep.
we have more viewers now than we had before the break. People, I love this.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. I'm trying to think of if I had my box, some of the stuff that I've been reading over the last couple weeks. I got a lot of you know what I got for Christmas? I got Cullen Bunn's The Sixth Gun,
Oh, it's a
like
great series.
like the big oversized hardcover.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, it's volume 1. It's gorgeous. It's got the first 11 issues in it, and then like a whole bunch of supplemental materials and stuff like that. I cannot wait to read that. You want to cook crystal meth? Oh, okay. I'm reading wrong.
I don't.
tweets.
I don't
No,
really,
I don't
no.
think
No,
anybody
we're
here wants to
okay,
do
we're
that.
gonna cook any crystal meth tonight.
I'm gonna go to the talking. Oh, it is the Talking Comics Twitter. Okay, what is going on? Logan messing me up. At least Bobby Shortle is wearing pants. Yeah, actually, you would know if we were wearing pants or not.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some stories. Ask me a question.
How was Louis C.K.? How was Louis C.K.?
Oh my God, yeah, Louis C.K. was phenomenal. It was weird, right? Like, because you think of Madison Square Garden, and it's this place where all of these legendary people have played, whether they're in comedy or music. And I've never been to Madison Square Garden unless it was music. So to go in there and to see just one guy on a stage with a spotlight just seems like a bizarre situation
Right, yeah.
to me, you know? And so we get in, and oh my God, I got frisked. I got
Really?
frisked hard. It was so cold outside. It was so cold. We went out to this really, really awesome bar and had a bunch of appetizers and drinks and stuff. And we got to Madison Square Garden, and we're walking up the thing, and we're like, oh man, it's taking a while. What the hell's going on? They had metal detectors. They had dogs. They actually went into my pockets.
Wow.
Yeah. They asked me to empty them, and then they went into them after patting them. They went into them.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to a Knick game.
Right. So one of the things that I travel with, whether it be going over the border to go to Canada or to go into Madison Square Garden, is I had picked up my comic book haul before heading to the train. So when they open up my bag and they see like there had to have been at least like 30 something, 40 something comics on that pile because it was accumulated of over 3 weeks. So they're just like looking at me like, you don't have anything hidden in these pages, do you? I'm like what? Acid?
Yeah, stamps.
Maybe. But it was
Ideas.
it was really, really cool. We got in and we found our seats, and here I am thinking that I'm gonna be like in the sky and I'm gonna be watching this little, you know, overweight, pale white and red shirted dot on the stage. And we had killer seats. We had killer seats. Like we were right there. I was shocked, and I'm watching him do his thing, and he actually started talking at one point. I'm not going to reiterate his jokes because then I'll fail them miserably because he's Louis C.K. and he's hysterical.
Yes.
But one of the things that he was talking about the seats, and he's kind of like, he's like, wow, you know, this is amazing. This is a, you know, milestone in my career to be playing Madison Square Garden, and you know, you people up there in like what they call the nosebleeds. He's like, how much does it suck that you paid like $25 to watch a screen? Like you could just wait for the DVD. You could have stayed home and not walked out in this butt ass cold. And he's like, you know, like, what did you guys pay? And he's talking to the people down in the front, and they're like 65. He's like, so for $40 more, you could have done this. And he's like, come here. And he's like, starts asking people to walk up, and he's like shaking their hands and stuff like that. He's like, look at this. For $40 more, you could have touched me. And oh my God, he talked about the thing with Louis C.K. is he talks about the most vulgar, just like disgusting analogies and things that but the way that he spins it, he makes it so relatable that even the things that you're not a part of personally, I don't have kids, but I have nieces. They're 3 and 6. So I kind of know what it's like to be around, you know, young girls growing up and today, blah, blah, blah. And he's talking about his daughters who are 9 and 13 and just like the crap that you have to go through when you have kids that a lot of people don't talk about. And those are some of the funniest parts about having kids. You know, how he doesn't encourage his daughters to do sports and other activities that they don't like to do. Like some parents are like, you got to stick with it, honey. He's like, you don't want to do tap dancing? Pfft, done. Done. Now I don't have to go. Because like, you know what happens? He goes, you do your recital, and you know, each performance is 20 minutes long. We live in the city. It's a big class. So I have to go to your thing, and it's like 7 months long just to watch you do your thing because, you know, I made you and you were this crying little blob all scrunched up at one point, and now you're tap dancing, and oh my God, this is amazing, right? But I don't care about anybody else's kids, and it's 20 minutes. So for all these kids that before the show, you know, you're going to do your thing and you're all this and you're all that, anytime that they're on that stage, you just want them to die. And oh my God, I was losing it. My friend Chris that took me, he was dying. Like I laughed like the really big parts, the stuff that really struck for me. He loves Louis C.K. and thinks that anything that he says is funny. So the entire time he is just losing his shit. And it's one of those laughs that like you've laughed so much that it's just gone. Like it's gone out of you and you just sound like a wheezing old man. So he's cracking up. And I can't tell if the people that are sitting around us are like cool with it. Because it's cool with me. He's one of my best friends. He could laugh until he dies. I don't care. But the other people are kind of like looking around and be like, is this guy ever going to stop laughing? And he wasn't laughing so hard that you couldn't hear the jokes because you could hear him crystal clear, which was awesome. I thought that I wouldn't be able to hear him because I never understand people speaking into microphones at shows. When they're singing, it's fine. But when they try to address the audience and tell a joke, I don't know what he said. But oh my God, he was just phenomenal. And I mean, I've only seen 2 comedians live in my whole life, which was Richard Jenny, and I remember him. I accidentally heckled him at a show at Caroline's in the city because I wanted to hear one of his bits. And he does this thing about Jaws the Revenge that I just thought was hysterical, and I yelled out, I was like, Jaws the Revenge. And so he launched into this whole thing about like hecklers and like, oh, that guy's drunk and this and that. I wasn't even of age. I wasn't drunk at all. Like I was just at your show having a good time. Roseanne Barr was in the audience.
Really?
She was sitting right down in the front. And then I saw Dave Attell when he came to the downtown. And that was an experience. I wound up making a lot of friends that night. So
guys, just so you know, this is exclusive to the live stream, by the way. No one else is getting this gold.
Talking Comics Premium.
Yeah.
Check out the Patreon account.
Yeah, exactly. Check out the Patreon account.
More gems like this.
So we're going to be recording the this version of the games show tomorrow. The best of 2014 for the games show.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Deciding those as well the same exact way.
That has been who's that?
I don't know.
That face.
Yeah, it was like it's gonna be a show.
Well, I mean, it's gonna all be positive, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's gonna be like this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have I didn't get to play everything because I feel like I've spent enough time throughout the year with certain titles that I already know how I feel about them. I don't really, so I tried to spend a lot of time playing other stuff, and I'm doing this thing to branch out and expand playing games. Like you got me onto the tabletop stuff with Resistance and Avalon. Like I thought it was okay the first time. The second time we played it, after watching you play and I didn't play, and watching the, just the way it works, I was like, wow, I'm like, this is really like all of your friends are lying liars. And it is
not just liars, lying liars.
Yeah, they're lying liars, and they're fantastic. And everybody's fantastic. Me, I don't say anything. I'm just sitting there, and nobody knows what to think of me. That's my strategy. But I actually started playing Marvel Dice Masters a couple of nights ago. I ordered the starter set. It arrives tomorrow, and I actually split one of like the actual boxes. So it's 90 packs, and we're gonna split it down the middle. My friend Brendan and I. But I've played about 5 rounds of it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of strategy, and just the collectible aspect of it. I've got to watch myself because I have a tendency. They're only $1 a pack. You could justify a couple of dollars here and there, so it's rough. You gotta watch yourself. But Kelly Heron and her boyfriend Daniel and some of their friends and my girlfriend, like, we're gonna arrange some kind of a I don't know if it's going to be a live stream, but it's going to be like a Google Hangout tabletop RPG night where we're going to pick something simple that we can all do with a pen and paper, and we can actually play. They have a game that they call One Shot that we're going to play. It's like silly stories, and you're fighting these enemies, and you're going into this, house or this place or whatever. So we're going to try that out in a week or so. I'm absolutely loving Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor right now. The Nemesis system that they've created for that game is spectacular. I would love to see it maybe incorporated into some other games in the future. People that want to kind of, adopt it and do their own thing with it, come up with a new like Frankenstein monster version of it. But the rivalries that you can form in that game is like some of the best gaming that I've had all year. Yeah. And it's against AI. Yeah. It's not even against another person, like they really do have a way of making it personal, that they've created all of this dialogue and these characters remember you, and you could wind up in a scuffle and lose to somebody. And it could be days. It could be like 16, 18 hours into your gameplay where you haven't seen that person just because you haven't been in that part of the map. Yeah. You haven't run into them. And then all of a sudden, like every time you lost, they were gaining levels, and you skip it with the circle button because you're not going to watch them siphon through all the enemies and stuff. So all of a sudden you're fighting this guy and he's now like, a level 19, level 22, and you just don't know how you're going to do it. Right. Yeah. And when the guy, like when the main dudes, when the captains and the war chiefs come around, all the chanting that goes on. So I ran into this guy named Zogdouche, and I had to fight him like 2 or 3 times. So for a good like hour or so, and we had the volume really loud on the speaker, like I walk into this compound and you just hear like this chanting coming, Zogdouche, Zogdouche, Zogdouche. And I'm like, could they have, like, it's a random generated name, right? Yeah. So like, could you have chosen a more ridiculous name than Zogdouche to be chanting over and over again? I got to deal with this guy. I love how strategic it is. I love having to look at the attributes of the characters and find different ways to defeat them. Are we good?
How we doing, Bob?
Yes, we're
ready to go?
compiled. We have a
All
couple of ties.
So
So
tune
I
in
don't know
tomorrow
if
for the
we
talking games.
mute while we figure out the ties, or are we being transparent?
Let's be true. We'll bring it back from the break. We'll be transparent about it. I guess
We can do from first place votes.
yeah,
or whatever,
exactly. We'll do
and
exactly. So the thing it gets, you guys are hearing this. No one else is going to hear this.
Don't tell anybody.
So we have a few ties. So that means we got equal voting number. So what we'll do is whoever got the most first place votes between the two tied things will end up winning. But we'll recognize both, obviously.
Right. And if we can't figure it out, we'll just ask Stephanie next week.
Yeah, exactly. So she got to vote. Your votes are in here.
She's not here.
It's true. It's very true. It's very
We
true.
miss you, Stephanie.
All right, hold on one second. I'm just gonna. All right.
I love not knowing the winners. I do. I
Because
like
you can't read my handwriting.
I'm not trying
that's
to.
the-
I
no,
like
you can't even if you could.
I like to be surprised.
Oh, good. Since no one can read my handwriting, I can cheat. I can say anything I want.
Star Trek.
And the winner is Stan Lee in an upset.
All right, so we are going to. I'm going to start recording again. I've got the listener winners up here, so voting
Okay.
is closed. So yeah, so let's get this. I'll start recording again, and we will.
Are we going to do listeners first, perhaps?
Well, if you want to.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, we should do us first, and then
No.
we'll do listeners.
I want to know what ours are, man.
Yeah, we don't even know. I know what our listeners are. I don't know what ours are.
We don't.
Yeah, I
I
know.
haven't even looked.
All
I've
right.
been hanging out.
Here we go. All right.
Okay.
Wait, and all right, we are back, and we are here to announce the winners of Talking Comics.
Toast to them.
Bob, just
To you
fucking
listeners.
interrupt me. I'm right in the
Sorry.
fucking middle of talking.
Sorry.
And Bob interrupt me.
2015.
I guess.
Some things never
Yeah,
change.
the bottle has changed, obviously, since the last time we were here. Yeah, so we're going to announce the winners for Talking Comics' third annual Best of Awards. We voted, and Bob tabulated on the break. And we're going to go through the winners right now, and we'll also go through the winners that you guys voted for on the site.
I didn't begin drinking until after I had done the math.
I don't think
So I don't want to hear
anybody watching knows that's not true because they could see you drinking before you tabulated.
Yeah, but the people who are just listening didn't see that.
True, with that they're gonna know.
I watched the live stream, man. He was chowing down on that Glenfiddich.
Yeah, this is good stuff. We changed it. No Knob Creek, Glenfiddich, 18 year. It's a very small bottle. We finished it though, obviously.
It's very good.
It's very, very good. You don't need
Warming.
anything to cut this up. Yes, very
No.
warming.
Super tasty.
And one of our listeners asked if this was going to turn into a drunken night where we prank called Dan Slott, and that's not going to happen. But
But that's pretty funny though.
it's a funny idea. All right, so let's
Where are we beginning?
start with best comic book cover 2014.
Best comic book cover. It was really close.
The nominees one.
We were Elektra #6, Gotham Academy #1, Ms. Marvel #5, Sex Criminals #1, the fourth printing, and X Factor #3 with all the kitty cats. And continuing the tradition of the comics of the week.
What?
Yeah. Elektra #6 with 15 votes and a narrow victory over Gotham Academy #1 and Ms. Marvel #5, each with 14 votes.
Wow.
Elektra at 15 took the day.
Where'd all that fire go for Sex Criminals?
I voted for it.
All right.
The second. No, first actually. I think. I voted for it. There's 4 people voting.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. It doesn't matter.
Our listeners rang in, and their winners, also a close vote, but Ms. Marvel #5
Very nice.
was the winner for our listeners. Runners up, Sex Criminals #1 was the runner up, and Elektra #6 also all had close to the same amount of votes, but
Cool.
Ms. Marvel clear winner on that one. Let's do Publisher of the Year.
Publisher of the year. Any guesses?
Well, it's nominees.
Boom Archaea, DC, IDW, Image, and Marvel. My list, by the way, is in alphabetical order. I don't want anyone to. We're not picking favorites. They're in alphabetical order.
I'm gonna venture a guess and say that Image is the Talking Comics.
What do you think?
Image.
Image with 19 out of 20 possible first place votes.
Wow.
I wonder who was the only person who didn't vote for it #1.
Me, I voted for number 2.
That's okay.
I know.
With IDW as number 1. So
Yeah.
in order, since I'm sure there'll be people out there who are interested in what
Mhm.
the order was.
I'm interested.
Image 1, Boom Archaea number 2,
Hmm.
IDW number 3, Marvel number 4, DC number 5.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting.
Our listeners, what did they pick?
Our listeners chose. Here we go. Our listeners chose Image. Not even close. 58.99% of the vote.
Wow.
Image won. Marvel came in at number 2. DC at number 3. Boom Archaea at number 4. Other at number 5, and IDW came in last.
Obviously, my impassioned plea means nothing. Nothing, I tell you.
It meant something to me,
Oh,
Bob.
that was very nice. Thank you. You
Um,
don't mean that, but it was very nice anyway.
Best new series of 2014.
Best
Wait,
new-
not best new series. I lied to you, Bob.
Yeah.
100
Wait, we're way down the.
I'm going by the order on the
Okay.
on the site on this poll on the site, and that was next. So let's go to Breakthrough Writer.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm easy going guy. Breakthrough Writer. We had Marguerite Bennett, Brendan Fletcher, Noelle Stevenson, James Tinian or Tynan. I'm not sure which.
Tinian.
It is Tinian and
Yeah.
G. Willow Wilson.
That G. Willow Wilson.
Yeah,
You
she's
know her
just
first
great.
name?
No.
No.
Gwendolyn.
Oh, really?
You learn something new every day.
Isn't that nice?
Except today. So our Breakthrough Writer also very close. G. Willow Wilson with 16, Marguerite Bennett and Brendan Fletcher each with 15.
Wow.
But G. Willow Wilson, our Breakthrough Writer for 2014.
Well deserved.
Our listeners chose G. Willow Wilson, Ms. Marvel, at 41.79% of the vote. Number 2, Brendan Fletcher. Brendan Fletcher and James Tinian actually very close.
Cool.
16 and 15% of the vote for them, with Noelle Stevenson and then Marguerite Bennett coming in.
Got some close votes. I like that.
Yes, everybody got over 10% of the vote, so no others or anything really stood out on that one. Breakthrough Artist of 2014.
Brooke Allen, Emily Carroll, Carl Kerschel, Robbie Rodriguez, Cameron Stewart, Babs Tarr. We had a unanimous vote.
Really?
Oh,
And matter of fact, we had a unanimous vote first and second place.
Wow.
wow.
Emily Carroll with 20 was our Breakthrough Artist of the Year. Carl Kerschel, number 2, with 16.
Wow.
So all 4 on that one. So who were our listeners?
Our listeners for Breakthrough Artist of 2014, Carl Kerschel won in a very, very, very close vote with Cameron Stewart and Babs Tarr.
Wow.
And then Robbie Rodriguez coming in third, all of which got over 20% of the vote. Brooke Allen and Emily Carroll coming in fifth.
I'm so jealous that everybody that hasn't read Through the Woods now gets to go out and go and read
The
that
first time.
Me as well.
Oh,
Me as
so
well.
good.
All right, best web or digital comic.
Abominable Charles Christopher, Bandette, High Crimes, Injustice, and Sensation Comics. And the winner, the Abominable Charles Christopher.
Oh, was it close?
17 to 15 over Bandette.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Congratulations, the Abominable Charles Christopher.
Christopher.
Yeah,
Yes.
seriously. Very good.
Our listeners did not go that way. With Injustice, Gods Among Us Year 3 won with 26.94% of the
Then they
vote.
told me I was crazy for bringing it up.
Sensation Comics featuring Wonder Woman came in second,
Oh,
26.42% of the vote. So people did vote, but they voted more
The
for
other way.
Injustice.
I'm going to shut up from that one. That's it. Okay,
Uh,
you convinced me, people.
Number 3, High Crimes. Number 4, Bandette. And Abominable Charles Christopher came in last. So we flipped it.
Think of it this way, Bob. They don't vote for it. It gives it less attention, which means it might not
Get
have the
canceled.
Ryer curse.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to prevent
That
it.
we're going to have that category next year. Most cursed book.
All right, so now let's do best new series. Is that in the next round? Yes, it is, right? Yes, it was in the next round. It was in our
Wasn't
next
the next
show.
round.
It was
No.
our next show.
Yeah.
It was the second show. So best new series of 2014. Our
Okay.
nominees.
Deadly Class, Gotham Academy, Ms. Marvel, Sensation Comics, Wicked and the Divine.
In a world.
Right. Well, we're starting to get, we're moving up. I'm trying to build.
Yes.
I'm trying to build.
Ramp it up.
So our vote for best new series with 18 votes was Ms. Marvel.
All right.
Ah.
Gotham Academy at 16.
Okay.
So very tight.
Very tight indeed. Best new series from our listeners. Ms. Marvel won it handily with 40% of the vote.
Wow.
Coming in second was Gotham Academy with about half that percentage. Then Wicked and the Divine, Deadly Class, and then Sensation Comics. All right, so let's see. What shall we do next? Let me come up with the next category on our list here. Best miniseries of 2014.
Hellboy in Hell. I just had to do that. Sorry.
That's good. No, that was
Yeah.
great.
Multiversity, Sheltered, Star Trek, Hit Cutoff, and Winter Soldier, Bitter March.
What did you say?
Head Cutoff. Harlan Ellison,
Oh my
City
God.
on the Edge
Okay.
of Forever. Head Cutoff.
I got you.
Or Head Cutoff. I could launch into my Annie song that I made up years ago. Your head'll come off, Vic Morrow, but we won't go there. So the winner of Best Miniseries, this was a tight one.
Yeah.
Guesses? Anyone guesses?
I'm going to guess. Ooh. My heart says Multiversity. So that's what I'm guessing.
I'm gonna say Multiversity as well.
Multiversity, 15 votes.
Wow.
Sheltered, 14.
Oh!
Hellboy in Hell and Winter Soldier, 11 each.
Whoa.
One. Well, two,
One.
technically.
That was a close one.
Multiversity.
That was a close one.
I am very happy that Sheltered ranked so high.
Shelters have been number 2 behind Multiversity. So
Yeah, no, I'm so satisfied with that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Our listeners?
Our listeners chose in a big victory the Multiversity with 40% of the vote. Coming in second was Winter Soldier, The Bitter March, followed then by Hellboy in Hell, Sheltered, and Star Trek, Harlan Ellison, City on the Edge of Forever.
Which got 2 votes.
Came in last. They got almost 8% of the vote though.
Well,
so
no, that's
pretty good.
That's good.
I do want to say, I want to, as we get in the higher categories, there was a bunch of write-in votes for a lot of these categories, and a lot of it was just ones, for a lot of stuff. But I want to read for best new series, which we read before.
Oh, sure.
With Ms. Marvel 1. Nailbiter got 3 write-in votes,
Awesome. That was a great series.
and She-Hulk and Velvet and Black Science all got write-in votes.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to acknowledge those, and I'll acknowledge them as we go over some of the other ones as well. So I'll read Best Miniseries after we do this next one, which will be Best Story Arc of 2014.
Okay. Forever Evil JLA Stargirl. Ms. Marvel No Normal. Saga Volume 4. She-Hulk The Trial of Cap, and Wicked and the Divine Faust Act.
All right.
Close again. Ms. Marvel No Normal with 17 takes the prize. Saga
Oof.
Volume 4 at 15, and She-Hulk Trial of Cap at 12.
Very nice.
Hmm.
For our listeners, Best Story Arc of 2014, Ms. Marvel, Volume 1, No Normal takes it with 39% of the vote, followed by Saga Volume 4, Wicked and the Divine, The Faust Act, She-Hulk, and coming in last was Justice League, Forever Evil tie-in Stargirl.
Were there a lot of write-ins in this one? I'd expect
There was
would
about
have to be.
8% of the vote were write-ins. Starlight got the most, actually. They got 4 write-in votes, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. This were we just do Story Arc?
Story Arc.
Sorry, no, that sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. That was Best Miniseries. It got 4 write-in votes. Starlight got, which is really good. That's for 4 people to put the same thing in a write-in without any mistakes is pretty impressive.
Yes.
There was an afternoon where there was a rally for it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't get the invitation to that.
And number 2 for the Best Miniseries, Batman 66 Meets the Green Hornet was the number 2 write-in for the Best Miniseries. But what we just did was Story Arc, correct? Let me look.
Story Arc is what we did.
Let me look at the write-ins for Best Story Arc. 7% of the vote were write-ins for Best Story Arc. But there was nothing that got more than 1 vote. That's true. That's not true. People just wrote different things. So if we're gonna look at this, it looks like Southern Bastards got about 4 votes, and Thor got 2 votes. And Elektra got 2 votes as well for a write-in.
All series that on the forums people were chatting up as we were moving on to this.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
Thor actually 3 write-in votes.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
So that's very good for books to get those write-in votes. It is very good. All right. So next up for us is going to be Best Graphic Novel of 2014.
Okay. There we go.
In Real Life, Seconds, Sing No Evil. You should do this, right?
Sing No Evil.
Through the Woods.
Steve's very nervous about them. He's got his head down.
And Zatanna Black Canary, Blood Spells. Our winner for best graphic novel. I don't know if this is it's slightly an upset, but maybe not. It's going to depend. Through the Woods at 18.
Wow.
Yes.
Seconds at 15.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I can't be upset about that. That's very congratulations to Through the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
Our listeners. They voted.
Just made the funniest face. I'm sorry.
Steve's laughing at my face. You can see how nice he is. Everyone who thinks he's nice.
There it
This
is.
is what it's really like.
It was what? Forget it. Just I'm sorry.
Late.
Go on.
You can't take that back. You're
No,
done.
you can't take it back.
It was so funny.
Our listeners the winner is Seconds with 26% of the vote, followed very, very closely by Black Canary and Zatanna Bloodspell.
Wow.
Good showing too. Third place, Sing No Evil.
Awesome.
Fourth place, Through the Woods, and In Real Life coming in last. 3 write-in votes for Nausea for
was so
Best
good.
Graphic Novel 2014.
Oh, you remember when I was freaking out when I was talking about Lumine however many weeks ago it was.
Yeah.
Bengal, and I was like, who is he? Who is he? It's the guy that did the artwork for Nausea.
I know.
Okay.
I said
Yeah.
that on the show.
Good. Glad.
I just didn't listen to anything I said.
One of those times.
All right, so we're at best single issue of 2014.
Ooh, scary stuff. Afterlife with Archie, number 6. Bitch Planet, number 1. You have to say that in a happy way. Gotham Academy, number 1. Lois Lane, number 1. And Multiversity Pax Americana. In a nearly unanimous vote, Afterlife with Archie, number 6.
Wow.
How many? What did you get?
19 of 20.
Guess who didn't vote for number 1? This guy.
This guy.
Right here.
Gotham Academy with 15. Lois Lane, Pax Americana, 10 apiece.
Our listeners, in this was a come from behind, really last second kind of thing. Bitch Planet, number 1.
Wow.
Won our listeners' best single issue of 2014, followed very, very closely by Multiversity Pax Americana. This is one of our closest races. Gotham Academy, number 1, Superman Lois Lane, and then Afterlife with Archie, actually number 6, which got the least amount of votes for our listener.
Turned upside down. I like that.
Southern Bastards, number 4, got 7 write-in votes.
Awesome.
Which is pretty cool. And that's without going through. I already see 2 more that were just not written the same way. So that's 9 write-in votes. 9 write-in votes at least for Southern Bastards, number 4. And Batman 66, number 14, actually got 2 votes. So
was that the Two-Face issue?
It may have been, but I'm not sure. No, probably not.
No, that was a standalone.
It was a standalone.
Okay.
That was a standalone. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So next up, we have Best Writer of 2014.
We have Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction, Gail Simone, Scott Snyder, G. Willow Wilson.
Woof. Woof.
And we have a tie.
Oh
shit.
man.
We have a tie.
Wow. Okay.
And the tie is between, well, with 15 votes each, and then the other 3 were close, but 15 votes apiece for Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Now,
yeah. So we talked about this in the break, and the people on the live stream heard it, but I wanted to hear people on the podcast can hear it. People listening at home. If we have a tie like this, the only way for us to separate, the first way for us to separate it is to go to who had the most first place votes. So whoever, if there's 4 of us, if more of us voted for Kelly Sue or Matt Fraction as our favorite, then that person would win. If beyond that, it would be second place votes and then third place votes. But I don't think we're going to get to that far. But so Bob, so
you would be wrong, sir.
Oh, really?
Yes, they each have 2 first place votes.
So it would split between the 4 of us.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's never happened before.
And then going to the next vote, they each have 1-3 and 1-2. So it's an absolute
tied?
unbreakable stalemate.
Oh my god.
So maybe we have to do rock, paper, scissors.
Oh my god. So they're all completely tied.
They're completely tied.
They're completely tied. There's no way we can separate them.
As it is in real life.
Yeah. Yes. So I mean, we tried, but
it's a tie.
there's nothing else that we can do.
but declare it a draw.
A draw.
They fixed this.
Yeah.
They told when you ask Kelly Sue for her top 5, this is her. Bob, you're in on it.
I am not.
This is totally- this is
despite I'm wearing a Carol Corps shirt. to the
Nobody
show tonight.
ever suspects Bob Ryer.
No, it's true.
I'm on to you, man.
It's a fix. The fix was in.
I am so on to you.
That's crazy. That's insane. All right, so congratulations, Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction.
Yes.
Talking Comics Writer of the Year. Wow.
You should get half a prize.
Apparently,
we'll
yeah.
ship it out, or you can
Yeah.
figure it out as you go.
Wow. I mean, I'm happy because Matt Fraction won. I just didn't surprised it to be like that. So we have our winner, the listener's winner, with 27% of the vote is Scott Snyder. Coming in second, Matt Fraction at 20% of the vote. Now, look, this is some crazy pants here. 1 vote separated Matt Fraction from G. Willow Wilson, who came in third, with other coming in fourth, fifth, Kelly Sue DeConnick, and last, Gail Simone. Jason Aaron got 6 write-in votes.
Wow.
Rick Remender got 5 write-in votes. By the way, the 6 and the 5 for Jason Aaron and Rick Remender, almost enough to get them on the ballot if we were going to do something like that. Multiples for Ed Brubaker, Jonathan Hickman, Dan Slott, and Brian K. Vaughan. And actually, it actually ends up being 6 for Rick Remender because of some misspellings or what have you. But yeah, great year for writers. Great, a lot of passion writing in. So the listener's winner is Mr. Scott Snyder.
Okay.
There are some names that we were argued about and put on our list if we were all making our 10s there.
Absolutely. Best artist of 2014.
Michael and Laura Allred, Francesco Francavilla,
May.
M. Marios, Fiona Staples, and Chip Zdarsky.
And the winner is?
The winner is, I'm going to call this one an upset.
Okay.
Michael and Laura Allred,
Wow.
Oh.
15 votes. Fiona Staples, 13. Francesco Francavilla, 12. Chip Zdarsky, 11. Emma Rios, 9.
Wow.
That's a tight spread.
I have to tell you, Bob,
voting.
I think you're the reason that won because I changed, like, they didn't go to my number 1, but they changed places in my ranking. They went up a tick. So
If I'm not mistaken, I think that I ended up putting them up at the top because of Bob.
right.
And I absolutely love the Silver Surfer series, and not to mention the FF and all the other wonderful things that he's done. They've done.
Our listeners chose Fiona Staples as the best artist of the year.
Mhm.
Number 2 coming in, it was Francesco Francavilla. Our other had 17% of the vote. Chip Zdarsky, Mike and Laura Allred, and Emma Rios coming in last. Greg Capullo got 4 write-in votes. Chris Samney got multiple write-in votes. Jamie McKelvey got multiple write-in notes. Phil Noto and Matteo Scalera all got multiple write-in votes.
All people we brought up.
Yeah. So a lot of write-ins there, a lot of great people mentioned as well.
And we'll bring up Jack Kirby.
No Jack Kirby, not this year.
Right.
He didn't have his best year this year.
It's pretty tough.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Best ongoing series of 2014.
Daredevil, Ms. Marvel, Rat Queens, Saga, and Sex Criminals. 4 votes separated the first 4 places.
Wow.
The winner with 15 votes, Sex Criminals.
I knew Daredevil wasn't going to win, so that was my next.
Ms. Marvel with 14,
Wow.
Saga with 13, Daredevil with 11.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Our listeners chose Saga as the best ongoing series of 2014. Number 2, Ms. Marvel. Number 3, Rat Queens. Number 4, Daredevil. And number 5, Sex Criminals. Batman got 9 write-in votes.
Of course he did. He's Batman.
Yeah. And that was also East of West, Lazarus, and the Silver Surfer all got write-in votes.
Awesome.
Got multiple write-in votes, and there's a whole huge list here of other books that got write-ins. Someone I don't think really understood what was going on because someone wrote in Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
And it was nominated, so they could have just voted for it. But so that's the winner of best ongoing series, and now we get to Best Overall Comic of the Year.
The Best Picture Award,
Best
in
Picture
essence.
Award.
We have Bandette. Yeah, keep going. We'll go. Ms. Marvel. Saga. Keep going. Seconds. And Sex Criminals. We have all those sexy S's over that beat. It's great. It's great.
Can I stop?
Yes, now you can stop. Now I'm going to need a drum roll, though.
I don't. If I hit the table, Bobby's gonna be mad at me.
Don't hit the table.
Like that, yeah. A close vote between our top three.
I'm nervous about this one.
The winner for Best Overall Comic of 2014, as chosen by the staff of
I'm gonna
the
back up.
Talking Comics podcast, is Seconds.
Whoa! What?
With 16.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Ms. Marvel and Sex Criminals 13 apiece, but Seconds takes Best Overall as a graphic novel.
Yes.
Congratulations, Seconds. That's awesome.
Woo.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Not the way I thought that was gonna go.
No, me neither, actually.
Pleasant surprise.
Best Overall Comic 2014, chosen by our listeners. Saga wins. Followed closely by Ms. Marvel, Sex Criminals, Seconds, and then Bandette. Another 8 write-in votes for Batman, multiple write-in votes for Southern Bastards, Deadly Class, Death Vigil, and Justice League, and a lot of write-in votes. Somebody wrote in with the ones that says category doesn't make sense. That was a write-in vote.
I've never heard of that book.
Yeah, me neither. We
have to buy that
should probably check it out.
Probably from one of those publishers that didn't make it to the list.
Yeah, one of my favorite things actually about the interaction that went on during this whole process, and there was a piece of news that broke obviously when we were away, was that there's one listener who was very big on the Death Vigil artist Steven Sejic, I think it's you say his name, who's now actually the Rat Queen's artist.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got named as the Rat Queen artist, the only reason I really knew who he was because of our listeners, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing. It was usually it goes the other way, but that was a really cool exchange to have.
That art looks good too.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks really great.
I'm excited for that.
One of our listeners, Logan Rowland, is riding in the streets that Daredevil didn't win Best Ongoing Series.
He's been riding this entire show.
Yeah, I know. He's throwing toilet paper and all the eggs, is what he said.
My phone's been
And
tap
all the
dancing
eggs.
because I see his name. Just
It's because Daredevil didn't win. Yeah, so that is all our winners for 2014. We're leaving 2014 in the rearview mirror now. Great year for the show. Great year. Thank you to everyone who was a part of the show. We've got big things planned for the year to come. We're going to be taking Talking Comics in new directions, and I think delivering you guys some content that we haven't before. So really excited about that. Of course, make sure you guys stay tuned tomorrow, actually Thursday, and listen to the Talking Games Best of 2014 show. We'll be doing some very similar thing to this. So that should be fun. Brian Verderosa and just put up his Best of 2014 show for Talking Movies. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you check out Talking Valiant and the Misfits, who just did obviously their show on Brian K. Vaughan. Who was mentioned quite a few times on this show today. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Talking Comics. Make sure you follow us personally. Stephanie is at Hello Cookie. I am at Bobby Shortle. Steve?
I am at dead_anchorist.
And email this guy over here.
Bob Ryer at talkingcomicbooks.com.
Next week we'll be back with a regular show, back to normal. We'll be going over a lot of the books that we didn't talk about in this past couple of weeks. Some books that are coming out this week. Obviously, huge release this week. Star Wars #1 hits the shelves this week, which is going to be a Titanic release. We've got trailers to talk about. We got both the Ant-Man trailer and the new Age of Ultron trailer to talk about. We've got Agent Carter to talk about. We've got Image Expo to talk about. So we've got a lot to talk about coming up. If you guys feel so inclined, go just check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/talkingcomics, and see what you think of it. And if you guys want to donate, awesome. If you don't, that's all right. Those of you who have donated, thank you so much. Huge reception.
Cheers to you guys.
The amount of patrons isn't huge, but the amount that you're giving is unbelievable compared to how many people are contributing. So thank you guys so much. If you guys want to give $1, anything else, that perfectly works great. Anything counts towards what we're trying to do. We've hit $250 a month. We're going to start making everything a podcast. So all the interviews and stuff will be separated out to their own shows so that they're not in this feed. So they get the attention they deserve. When we restart our other video shows, they'll be put as audio. Book club. I am restarting Comics and Coffee this Friday.
No,
Congratulations.
New co-host. However, Mara's schedule is not going to work out, so Nikki Alfaro is going to be joining me as my co-host.
Oh, no way.
Comics and Coffee.
Yeah, cool.
So make sure you check that out on Friday at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on our YouTube channel after that, and if we hit the 250 mark, it'll be a podcast. So make sure you guys check that out. We have other goals too. Obviously, more fancy goals if we get more money, but. Please check that out if you get a chance. And just thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you so much for all the interaction over the last couple of weeks. It's been weird to be away for so long, but we're back now. And we're going to keep on doing this. Stephanie will be back next week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure she'll have comments for us on What Down. Thank you guys. Thank you all the contributors. Everyone who's been writing for us. All the great guest articles we've been having. Make sure you go to talkcomicbooks.com and check those out. Absolutely. They deserve to be read, and make sure you comment on those articles if you have a reaction to them. Lots of guest top 10 lists and top 5 lists. One up on the site. Steve's personal top 10 list is already up. Mine, Bob, and Stephanie's will be up this week. So make sure you guys check those out. And just keep doing what you guys do because you guys are awesome. And that's going to do it for the Talking Comics podcast for this week. For Steve.
Be excellent to each other.
Bob.
Oh, Happy New Year.
I have been Bobby. Until next time on Talking Comics, to be continued. All right, thank you everybody on the stream who's been watching. You guys have been awesome. We will try to do this more often. This went pretty well. So thank you guys so much. And we will see you guys later. But thanks for sticking around. Most of you guys stuck around the whole time, which was pretty awesome. I hope you enjoyed the break.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Math is fun.
Bye guys.
Bye.